Welcome, everyone. This is AllMinusOne, and my name is Bill. Thank you all for joining the show today. Thanks for catching it live or later on. Please give me that like, share, subscribe. You know the thing, as our great fearless leader would say. Help me out, help me grow. I am quite busy. I'm a family man. I'm working outside of the house now, and still am going to keep streaming as much as I can. But it is one of those things that I do not stream, you know, and do all the things behind the scenes that maybe manipulate things to help me get boosted up in the algorithm. I don't care about all that. I'm here for legitimate conversation with legitimate people who legitimately care about being free. And much of what we're going to talk about today is about freedom and how to exercise that freedom properly and to fight tyranny. And with that, we're going to talk about the trucker convoys. But before I get started into all of that, I wish to just give a little preface to everybody that literally 3 feet away from me, my daughter is sleeping right now. She's 7 months old. She's in a little swing. She hates to sleep, but she sleeps pretty solidly once she gets there. She just doesn't want to get there. Very much like her old man. So I'm might have to interrupt the show at some point when she goes to wake up. This is her afternoon nap time, so hopefully she'll be asleep for a good 2 hours. The other thing is, of course, depending on where you are watching, you could be watching on YouTube right now. That is the main place because, well, YouTube is the biggest streaming service. However, I am going to try and get my Rumble going again and all those other things, Odyssey, right? But there is streams going on right now over on DLive if you prefer a non-Google stream, or on Entropy. Entropy specifically is a place where you can donate as well, and it is a free speech site. Now it's a restream of the stream while I am live, but if you guys have questions that you want me to absolutely read, you can send them over there uh, through a super chat, and I will, definitely take a look over there and try and get to them. So that's the point of Entropy. Otherwise, I try and keep up the chat where I can. Speaking of which, let's see, I got some chat right now already. Oh, I got Spook here. I haven't seen Spook in a while. What's up, bud? I sound like I'm talking through a water pipe. Let me. I heard this the other week. We do two things. Let me disconnect my mic. Let me see if it's turned wrong. Because I'm pretty sure my mic's a directional mic. I don't know why it would be turned wrong, but it's possible. All right. So does that sound any better? And if not, let me turn it. Does this sound better? I haven't messed with my mic in forever. It should be the right side. But I noticed that last time. That was weird. Or one of the last streams. So you guys tell me, does this sound better or does this sound worse? Because that's definitely a problem I need to get fixed. Right? It does not, says Spook. I'm pretty sure this is the opposite. It doesn't sound any different. Well, that means that something's going on that I'm not aware of. And Stan, I'm not a tech guy like you, so I'm pretty sure my mic is backward right now. Windows strikes again. Is that what it is? I have no clue. No clue whatsoever. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry if it sounds like I'm talking through a tin can. It might clear up because sometimes this happens. When I was using OBS exclusively, I had this thing going on where it would sound like this, and I was pre-recording, right? It would sound like this for about 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then halfway into the stream, it all of a sudden would be perfectly fine. So check audio devices. Oh, this is always the best time, right? When we're on the stream. So
hello. Does that sound any different? Yeah, there was no noise when I messed with the mic because I muted it, Stan. So that's why. Does this sound any different? Any better? At least you guys are catching this now. Okay, that was a StreamYard setting then. So I will try to be cognizant of that when I come into StreamYards next time. All right. There I go. Thank you, Stan. All right, guys. Well, before we get started here, aside from all the technical difficulties. Yeah, see, it was a StreamYards thing. Wasn't even my mic. I'm going to play a little video for you. So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Well, we're loading up the trucks and we're heading to Ontario. We've got a lot of miles to go. See, the work's gotten slow and the boys are getting restless. Look out, Ottawa, Ontario. Well, we're coming down the 16, we're coming down the 1. We're from BC, Alberta, and Saskatchewan. And if you can't hear our big trucks humming way out in the west, we'll bring them to your doorstep. That's right, boys. Going on down to Ottawa town. You see, Mr. Prime Minister, it shouldn't be too much to ask. Pretty sure old Parliament Hill runs on natural gas, and I've seen that car you drive. Safe to say she don't plug in. So if burning oil's for sinners, well then, buddy, you're all in. Yes, we're rolling down the Yellowhead, we're coming down the 1. We're rolling 18-wheelers and we're bringing everyone who's tired of waiting for you to come around. Oh, Mr. Prime Minister, we're coming to your town. Well, we're loading up the trucks and we're heading to Ontario. We've got a lot of miles to go. See, the work's gotten slow and the boys are getting restless. Look out, Ottawa, Ontario. Look out, Ottawa, Ontario.
All right, guys. So I think that was from June of 2020. That was a while ago. And these trucker convoys, of course, have started. Oh, boy. What's my system doing now? And sorry, guys. For some reason, Microsoft Edge popped up there because, well, Windows. In any case, of course, we now know that there's this whole debacle there with GoFundMe, the police. Facebook is kicking these groups off. Of course, all of the big tech censorship. And where does all this come from? Well, I'm going to read a couple of articles, of course. We're going to comment on it. We'll watch some videos. We'll do all that stuff. I think that's going to be the primary thing I'm going to cover today. I'll talk about a few other things as I put in the description. But it seems to me that increasingly, whenever people try to be doing something independently to enact their rights and their freedoms, they are labeled as evil and horrible people. They're all, of course, racists, as we know that those people who were adamant about slavery, of course, were the biggest uh, the biggest champions of freedom, right? No, that's not how that works. So, guys, we're going to get into this. I want to read a couple articles. I'm sure you know about the big debacle with GoFundMe. Give Send Go, of course, is up now and ready to receive donations if you guys want to help these guys out. But let's go through all of the details and let's kind of talk about how despots act and how they like to frame everything, and how the banking system seems to be the real purveyors of all this. Like, because the governments can say whatever, but the banking systems are the ones that provide the monetary support. And I almost guarantee you, though I haven't seen any official word of it, that they were the ones that pushed GoFundMe out of doing this. And, you know, we all know they supported BLM just fine. All right, Spook, just realize I don't have DLive pulled up, and I don't check in the chat there very often. If I know you're chatting over there, I'll try to check in on you, but I try to keep things minimized for my system to run good. You can tell I have a ton of tabs open right now, so I'm not exactly doing the super high speed, you know, computer thing. It's pretty good, but definitely not the best or the fastest. It's not a gaming computer. It's nothing special. So here we have GoFundMe steals money meant for truckers to redistribute to communist charities of their choice. Now, what has happened since is they have declared that the truckers can pick the charity if GoFundMe approves. I suggest the charity that they pick is the trucker charity over on Give Send Go. That would be my suggestion, but I'm sure GoFundMe is not going to provide a competitor with funds. And of course, we're going to talk about some of the legal action that can be taken. Maybe you've heard all this before. I don't know. You know, guys, I'm unfortunately not quite as in the loop as I normally am because I'm not sitting around the house listening to stuff all day. I'm trying to listen to stuff while I'm working, but not always as easy. So in any case, it is official. GoFundMe, the company that claims to help people by allowing them a way for donations to be made to them by others, has moved against the truckers and others participating in the vaccine mandate protest in Canada. And no news there, probably, for most people. The company announced that they will be taking the 9+ million donations by appreciative supporters and distribute the money to approving charities instead, judging by their donations through their history. It is certain that the money will go to the woke charities that most donors to the truckers convoy would never agree to support. Yeah. And by J.D. Rucker here, the author of the article, he says, never give to GoFundMe. I would happen to agree. I've used them in the past when I was injured to basically allow people I knew, if they wished, to, you know, help support me while I was not earning an income. Very important. So the statement from GoFundMe is, to ensure GoFundMe remains a trusted platform, we work with local authorities to ensure that we have a detailed, factual understanding of events taking place on the ground, following a review of relevant facts and multiple discussions with local law enforcement and city officials. This fundraiser is now in violation of our terms of service, Term 8, which prohibits the promotion of violence and harassment and has been removed from the platform. Well, GoFundMe, this happened just a few weeks ago with some other people, recall. And there were no fundraisers removed that I'm aware of for the BLM movement, which was openly violent and riotous. But please show me the videos. Please show me the video evidence and the physical evidence of people being violent. Now, I know that there was somebody that ran over somebody the other day in a car. That did happen. I believe Salty Cracker did a little piece on it. But here's the thing. Was that one of the protesters? And this isn't about that. this isn't about that at all. Of course, this is about controlling the narrative. And we're going to look at the videos of people protesting this that are all over the place. We're not getting news reports of people dying. We're not getting news reports of cities burning down. We're not getting a list of casualties of people being beaten in the street or being admitted to the hospital because they were attacked by gangs. But yet the summer of love went on with complete anonymity, right? No one was necessarily given up. They were, they were just all allowed to do whatever. The truckers, I guarantee you, they will start going after individual people. They will start putting them up in the news. They will allow folks to in the media to criticize them as if they were some great boon on their democracy, on their oligarchy, that is. And they are. They are. Organizers provided a clear distribution plan for the initial 1 million that was released earlier this week, and confirmed funds would be used only for participants who travel to Ottawa to participate in a peaceful protest. Given how the situation has evolved, no further funds will be directly distributed to the Freedom Convoy organizers. We will work with organizers to send all remaining funds to credible and established charities chosen by GoFundMe. Now, this was from the 4th. I believe that GoFundMe reissued a statement. They've changed some of their language since. Here we have a little tweet from Ezra Levant from Rebel Media, as far as I know, only conservative media in Canada. At the request of Trudeau, GoFundMe has just stolen $9 million from the truckers. Rather than automatically refunding to the donors, they said they're going to give it to other charities of choosing. What windfall for Black Lives Matter, Greenpeace, and Planned Parenthood. And it's really strange because most of these organizations aren't really supported by the people. Most people for a while were supporting BLM because they're idiots and they just listen to the news and they're propagandized and they're brainwashed and they don't think. But Greenpeace, I don't think anybody cares about them except for the crazies. Planned Parenthood, the only people that care about Planned Parenthood are leftoids that are men trying to sleep with leftoids that are women, and women who are leftoids. And that is honestly, unfortunately, the majority of the leftoids, because it's an emotional stance. It's an emotional ideology. It's an emotional appeal. And women, they like their emotions appealed to. You want to get good with women, gentlemen? Learn how to not necessarily manipulate their emotions, but to give them emotions, good emotions, bad emotions, anything in between that in let's say, game, if you would. That's what they would teach you. They teach you to basically give her an exciting time. There has to be peaks and troughs and climaxes. And I'm not talking about sexually. I'm just talking about in the emotional excitement sphere. Well, what does leftism provide to women? Well, it provides the tyrannical mother archetype. It provides that, and most of these women who support these things aren't good mothers. They are themselves tyrannical mothers. If they weren't, they would be more traditional, right? But they're not. They're leftoids, and they are they are trying to consume the society by nerfing all of it and infantilizing everybody. And they've been really good at it for the last 100 years. We live in this infantilized society, right? Let's see. Dahari said, BLM stole money. The leader bought a mansion in Canada that was once owned by some communist person. Yes, that is true, Dahari. We'll talk about that to some degree. Nick just said 300 subs until YouTube steals them, Nick. But that's good. That's awesome. Only 700 more to go. And it probably will not until like I get 1,000 subs on either one of my channels. By the way, Dystopia Now is still there. I just don't have time to work on it. At some point I will. I want to make like edited videos. If I had a team, if only I had a team. But yeah, until I'm at like 700, it's good to celebrate, I get 700 more. I get that 1,000. That 1,000's that magic number. I'll probably never talk about subs again after that. Then I'll start getting a bunch of subs and I'll be like, all right, we're almost at 10,000. Let's go. but at this rate, 10 years from now. So let's see. Let me check on entropy real quick. We're all clear there. In any case, guys, this was from Substack. It's just, random article. You've probably heard the news. I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail of it. I just wanted to bring up a couple articles, talk about it. As usual, I'm a kind of broad picture guy. I assume that you are going to educate yourselves, and I kind of see myself as I'm an aggregate of sorts at best, and then it's just whatever my thoughts are on it, right? Freedom Convoy raises $2 million on Give, Send, Go after GoFundMe removes campaign, from Newsweek. And we don't need to watch their little video. It says new fundraising appeal for Canadian truckers protest vaccine mandates has already raised millions of dollars after GoFundMe halted the campaign on its website. A new appeal for the Canadian Freedom Convoy has raised more than $2.1 million out of 16,000 target on the platform Give, Send, Go. They were only asking for 16,000. Excellent. I love it. This included one anonymous donor giving the truckers, 215,000 on the new platform. That's awesome, man. The original GoFundMe appeal had raised an estimated 9, yada, 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 and it goes on. But here again from the National Post, GoFundMe suspends trucker convoy. But look, guys, we can just go over to here to Give, Send, Go. I'm going to mute myself, let this play. You guys let me know if it's not loud enough.
It's Tamara Leach here from beautiful downtown Ottawa on this lovely Friday afternoon. We are here today to give you an update on the situation here with GoFundMe, as well as how you can continue to help the truckers that we have on the ground here. So as you know, GoFundMe has only released $1 million of the over $10 million that you have donated thus far, and they've frozen the rest of it for now. I wanted to get you some accurate information on how you can support the truckers that are on the ground here at the moment. We've decided to team up with an organization called Give, Send, Go, and which is going to enable us to get donations into the hands of the truckers much quicker while everybody gets the rest of the stuff sorted out. So it's going to be Give, Send, Go. It is Freedom Convoy 2022. That you can check out their site. There'll be links posted here shortly once we have all this information up. So please, if you can donate and help us keep these truckers going, we plan to be here for the long haul, as long as it takes to ensure that your rights and freedoms are restored. And obviously, from the bottom of our hearts, we thank you very much. And we will continue to bring you updates as we have all of that information. So thank you very much.
Got to unmute myself there. Now, guys, if you obviously you want to donate to them, please do so. This is I think a super important cause. They are organized. We can give them funds. I mean, if you think it only requires a few dollars from everybody, just $5, $10, $20 if you can afford it. You don't need to give more than that per se, just a few dollars. If we could get millions of people to do that, then we can support these folks and they can force the government. Now, we can talk about what the government's saying about these folks and how they're being treated as terrorists, because yes, technically they are trying to do something for political means, but they are doing something legally and lawfully, and there is no threat of violence. So they are not terrorists. They are just protesting. And the style of this protest is a blockade, which is quite effective. If a city can't get the things that it needs to get, well, maybe, just maybe, it's willing to negotiate things. The problem here is that the federal government in Canada doesn't want to negotiate anything, and therefore they expect everyone to comply instead of listening to its people. That's pure tyranny. And I'm sure there's some leftoid idiot out there saying, oh, this is tyranny of the minority, of the people, the truckers. Da, da, da. No, it's not. Most people are apolitical. So the majority of people who are political, who are informed, I don't think are leftoids. In fact, we know the data on this, at least as far as it comes to, let's say, the LGBT stuff or transgender things and stuff like that. It's not generally accepted. It is not the norm of opinions, and most of this isn't. You look at polling data as far as Republicans and Democrats, and you see that there is a 50-50 split between men and women, generally speaking. Men are a little bit more dominant. Democrats, on the other hand, they're about 70% women. Wonder why that is. And very few men. And I think most of the men that are, I don't know. I believe some of these people are genuine, and I think some of these people are not. It depends. But I think a lot of the men that are, they just don't know anything. We know this as well from many a study. The left doesn't read. They don't. They read their own regurgitations. They read their own sloganeering. They read their own, they read their own ideals. But those things are never practiced. Not really, right? Just like in the comments, Patrice Cullors from Black Lives Matter, right, is not a communist. Now, she's a grifter who uses communism to become rich and manipulate people, but she's not actually a communist, right? Otherwise, she would reject all of her wealth. Just like Hassan Piker, right? When he claims that he's a socialist or a communist, or Vosh. None of these people are communists. They're all champagne socialists. They're all disingenuous, and there's no reason to listen to them. They don't live what they preach. So let's keep moving here. In case you guys didn't know, there is a freedom convoy on Give, Send, Go that is raising money, $250,000 right now in DC. I would absolutely love this. Unfortunately, our federal government, the way that they are, would probably lock them up like the people from January 6th. But again, if you are wanting to support this, please do so. You can find these on Give, Send, Go. And then actually, while I was looking this up, I actually ran across this one first. This is an interesting little campaign. It's a different campaign, but it's trying to get rid of trafficking, and it looks like it's border control. This is over in Europe, apparently, as this is in euros. But Truckers Against Trafficking is a mission supported by U.S. veterans to stop crime and the southern border. Well, here it says southern border. I don't know why it says euros over there. Maybe that's just the link I found was a UK. I don't know. But for too long, Americans have watched cartels, corrupt politicians, and Christian NGOs abuse innocent children for their diabolical schemes. And this is rather true. Together, let's send a message to Washington, D.C. and the world that we, the people, and the veterans of this proud country have woken up and are now taking care of the border problem. And that is my cue to get my daughter, folks. In any case, I will be right back.
Well, we're loading up the trucks and we're heading to Ontario. We've got a lot of miles to go. See, the work's gotten slow and the boys are getting restless. Look out, Ottawa, Ontario. Well, we're coming down the 16, we're coming down the one. We're from BC, Alberta, and Saskatchewan. And if you can't hear our big trucks humming way out in the west, we'll bring them to your doorstep. That's right, boys. Going on down to Ottawa town. You see, Mr.
All right, I'm back. Dahari, you were saying way too many unions in the U.S. that support the Dems regarding truckers. Yeah, I mean they the unions are, in my opinion, always a problem because unions aren't really about workers; they're about unions. They always have been. It's another one of these socialist schemes to get the people at the top wealthy and to inflate certain people's pockets, like the workers of whatever union, but it never works out in the end for everybody. And that's the problem with a system like this. One of the problems with a system like this. Now, people would make the same argument about capitalism, but the difference is that at least in free market systems, right, you are always in a position of you're always in a position of choice, and you have the ability to walk away. In a socialist system, you really don't. And some people are just lucky because they made the right choice at the right time. They met the right person. Whatever it is that they did something to be, in a situation that they got rich. Now, on the other hand, for the most part, what we know this without a doubt. People say this all the time. I hear it all the time because they don't understand the data, but they'll say, oh, IQ has nothing to do with, with life success. No, it actually does. It's the second highest thing that correlates to life success, but it is not the end all be all. The most important factor, the number one thing that correlates, is how hard you work. So if you work hard and you have a pretty decent IQ, you're going to be successful. And that's the reality of it. That's the bottom line. Most of these people that are really rich work all the freaking time. And you have to have some balance if you want a full life. And some people just like to work and they can't do anything else. I mean, I watch very little entertainment myself. I'm always geared toward not necessarily working per se, but thinking and understanding what's going on in the world and whatever else. I'm a big dork. I don't know. I don't sit around and watch a lot of basically empty content. Now, every now and again, I get overwhelmed, burnout, whatever, and then I need to take a break. And that's when I do those things, right? My wife and I were watching Cobra Kai, and I was because there was a new season out or whatever, and we got rid of Netflix a while ago, but she has a Friends, right? So we started watching it a few weeks back, and then we got into the last few seasons, and it's getting into the other movies, and she'd never seen the other movies, and I was like, all right, well, let's watch the Karate Kid movies. So like this is that's the best of me doing relaxing and entertainment, if you would. And that's just how some people are. So what do we say here? We got yeah, you had to join the unions to get a good job. So most people don't talk about the unions in the most people don't understand that the unions were in the North. They weren't in the South. Blacks moved up north. This is historically what happened, right? And as blacks moved up north, they started getting welfare and stuff like that up north. They didn't get it in the South per se. And the unions kept the blacks out. This is a long tradition of racism and racialism in the Democrat Party. They've always done it. Now they just have redirected their ire and they're making racialism toward white people. But they still have destroyed the black community by giving them welfare, stripping away the families, providing them with the state to be their daddy. And again, this is actually what seemingly a lot of the women in that community want. You know, if you talk to a lot of black men, they'll tell you that they don't date black women. Not all, but a lot of them won't, because of how they're seemingly out of control. Tommy Sotomayor talks about this all the time on his stream, if you ever watch him. And you know, I've had lots of guys, especially when I worked in the jail, like, you know, guys, some of the posts that we would have. One specifically, we had to be on the tier and direct supervision. Most of our jail wasn't like that, but we did have one unit that was. And you know, sometimes guys will come up and talk to you. You know, I know some of the guys from school and whatever else. It's just how it goes. But I mean, I had my neighbors in there, guys I shot pool with. So, in any case, I remember talking to a lot of the guys, and they were all the same with it. You know, oh no, I don't date black girls. I don't date black girls. They're crazy. How they act. They're too entitled. They're too this. They're too that. And this is now a spread to almost all of the women out there. I'm not saying that all the men are great out there either. I'm just saying that this is an issue with the ladies for sure. And if we have time today, I might get into that a little bit, because I want to talk about the culture with that some. So in any case, back to the news stories here, guys. I mean, this is kind of the thing. It's the Siesta stream. That's the point. You guys be watching whatever. I mean, you know, this is nap time on a Sunday afternoon. You know, so we're just kind of chilling out, just doing stuff, just listening to me ramble, right? U.S. Republicans vow to probe GoFundMe decision halting Canadian trucker donations. Now, that just happened yesterday, and good, because you can't just decide that you're not going to fulfill your end of a contractual obligation. These people donated for a reason. You need to refund the money, GoFundMe, and they're not. And that's what they should be doing. They said they refunded some or whatever, but the initial funds should all be refunded, and they're not. That's absurd. And to say that they have to give this to some other charity of GoFundMe's liking is also absurd. This isn't their money. That's not what people gave them money for. And I guarantee you, behind the scenes, it is a bank. I believe they use Stripe as their payment processor. So it might be Stripe doing it, but somebody in the banking system somewhere is saying, nope, we don't like these dissenting opinions. We don't like these people. They're screwing up our plans. We might not be able to get the Americans, but the Canadians, we have them locked down, just like Australia. You know, England might have gave up on the coof, but we're not going to do it here in Canada, in this part of the world. We can't let those Americans, get big heads. By the way, folks, if you didn't know, nobody cares in Mexico. Nobody cares, and they haven't cared. There are no lockdowns. There's nothing going on down there. They don't care. They're treating it like we should have treated it this whole entire time. You protect the elderly or those who are potentially sick, even if that includes getting the jab, which I'm not a fan of, but whatever. That's what you do. You allow people to make individual choices, and you live your life. This was all part of the Great Reset. It was an excuse to crash the economy, to lock people down, to allow the globalists who wish to have some sort of communistic, fascistic system, some authoritarian system that makes you a debt slave and puts you in some sort of form of neo-feudalism. That's what this was about. So here we have some Republicans on Sunday vowed to investigate GoFundMe decisions to take down a page accepting donations in support of protesting truck drivers in Canada. Although GoFundMe early Saturday already said it would simply refund all donations. The Freedom Convoy 2022, that is, began as a movement against the Canadian vaccine requirements for cross-border truckers, but has turned into a rallying point against public health measures in Canada. and has also gained increasing support among U.S. Republicans, including former President Donald Trump. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said on Saturday it was a fraud for GoFundMe to commandeer $9 million in donations sent to the Freedom Convoy in support of the truck drivers. And DeSantis is a lawyer. Pretty sure he knows what fraud is, and I've heard several lawyers talk about this, including Requeta and Robert Goivera or Goivea, however you say his name, of Watching the Watchers. And he said this would work with the state's attorney general, Ashley Moody, to investigate. These donors should be given a refund. Exactly what I just said. But hours before DeSantis posted this statement on Twitter, GoFundMe said in a tweet that it had revised its original plan on how to handle the funds already donated to support the truck driver protests, saying that all donations would be refunded. This refund will happen automatically. You do not need to submit a request. Donors can expect to see refunds in 7 to 10 business days, yada, yada, yada. GoFundMe took down the Freedom Convoy 2022 fundraiser page on Friday, saying it violates its terms of service. At the time, it said donors would have 2 weeks to request a refund, and any remaining funds distributed to credible established charities. Sure. So what should people do? Well, they should do what happened with Owen Benjamin and the Patreon debacle. Now, granted, this is costly. But you know who else it's costly for? The company. So here from Daily Dot, I brought this up because it was one of the articles I came across. I'll get to more legit articles. It's also a funny headline, considering like a few days later, this was completely won by Benjamin's people. So let me check Entropy real quick. All right. Whenever I think of it, I gotta check it because otherwise I'll go on forever without looking at it, guys. It says, "All right, comedian asked his fans to sue Patreon. It backfired." Updated. So this is from June 6, 2020. Owen Benjamin has managed to get 72 of his fans sued by Patreon. Last October, Patreon banned Benjamin, an alt-right commentator and self-styled comedian, for violating its policies against hate speech. Well, Patreon makes things up just like Facebook and just like YouTube. It just makes up rules, just like Twitter, just like all these companies, because, you know, they have that clause that we can do whatever. If you recall, they first screwed Lauren Southern over for being on a boat that was trying to intercept illegal migrants. Lauren did nothing. She wasn't driving the boat, but, you know, apparently that was wrong. And then, you know, Carl Benjamin, Sargon of Akkad, dropped the N-bomb to a bunch of white nationalists, calling them the pejorative that they love. And somehow, even though it wasn't on Patreon, that was enough. Patreon couldn't support him. And so people left. Lots of people left. I have a subscribe star now for this channel. You know, in case people want to donate, I actually do have a lovely member over there who does donate every month. And that's much appreciated. But everyone went there because of Patreon. These services keep doing this, expecting everyone to eventually get booted off and be done. And they don't understand. It's not going to happen. Might happen initially. They might get rid of things like Parler initially. But trust me, freedom has a way, because once people get a taste of it, there's really no stopping it. And the problem that we're really facing is that we have many people who are just enslaved in their minds. They absolutely are infantilized. This is why I say all the time that we have this utterly weak society. We have a society that doesn't understand that at any point, all this can collapse and go away overnight. Through famine, through pandemic, through war, through natural disaster. How would our world be? Imagine if a solar flare came by and knocked out the entire power grid. Who would survive? I guarantee you the cities will not survive that. They will go under real quick. Um, we have a perpetual childhood in our modern lives, and we have a perpetual nanny state in our governments that allows this. And even people who seem to be or pretend to be very, let's say, conservative or based or whatever, liberty minded, many of them will still fall into this trap. That's not to say that we shouldn't have, certain structures or rules, or that there shouldn't be government power to some degree, but there has to be some way to hedge that power, to bring in the reins, to control them. And again, that's what the Freedom Convoy is all about. And if they're not going to do it, then people need to do something. That is, if they're not going to support it, they need to do something to basically spank them. Right? They need to spank GoFundMe, because that's really been the problem for a long time. The conservatives, the so-called right, never spanks anybody. It never gives them that whooping they need. And trust me, I don't want violence. That's not even really what I'm talking about. It means that there are consequences when you do something wrong. When are there consequences for the left? It's very rare. Most of the time, it's brought on by themselves, and then they accept whomever back into their folds after, they do their meaningless apologies that they should never do in the first place. So that was from the 6th, and I didn't catch a date on this. This is old Cernovich, but right here we have from July 18th. Owen Benjamin versus Patreon. Dissonant comedian set to deal massive blow to big tech censors. So, I believe it was after that article was released, that they said, mind you, once again, that alt-right comedian asked his fans to sue Patreon. It backfired. No, it didn't. It did exactly what he thought it would do. And despite Owen Benjamin's mannerisms or not being the most articulate guy on earth, he actually does have a genius level IQ, I'm pretty sure. Like, the guy is a very smart guy. So he might be weird and whatever else. I mean, not that I have a problem with him. I like his content. Although I did tweet at him about the IPAs making, soy based, and he never gave me credit, because within like the next day he was tweeting about it and freaking making videos about it. Dang, Owen Benjamin. If I ever meet you, Owen, we're going to have a conversation. All 6'6" of you and 5'6" of me. We're going to see eye to eye. In any case, so here we have today, a trial court denied Patreon's motion for preliminary injunction. Patreon lost their lawsuit in court and must not proceed to arbitration. And right there you have the court order linked. It says Patreon platform, popular podcasters, journalist, and comedian faces significant legal peril due to fascinating quirk in California law that no one seemed to have noticed. And here's the summary. Patreon banned Owen Benjamin. Owen Benjamin backers moved for arbitration, alleging various causes of action under the arbitration procedures spelled out in Patreon's terms of services. Patreon must pay the filing fees, which could total millions of dollars. Patreon cannot collect those fees back, even if Patreon wins the arbitration. And it's about $200 per filing. Now, I saw, I think Tim Poole was suggesting the other day that people do a, what's it called? When you cancel with the bank, you basically say, oh no, this isn't the charge, blah, 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 and the bank cancels it. Well, that's actually an upcharge given to the, that whoever charged has to pay. So I think he was saying it was like $27. And if enough people do that, but look, guys, if you have the scratch, file the lawsuit. If you donated, file the lawsuit. I mean, make these people pay. Tech companies face almost total protection from lawsuits due to a law created by Congress to encourage freedom of speech on the web, which has done nothing, mind you, but allow them to curtail it. Because if anyone is passing any law in Congress, folks, let me explain something real simple to you right now. Whatever the title is, it means the exact opposite of what the law does. Not always, not in every case, but 99.9997% of the time, just like coronavirus. That is the case. Let me tell you, the Patriot Act had nothing patriotic in it. It only made the citizens the enemy of the state. It made the state have expansive powers that are unconstitutional, right? McCain-Feingold Finance Campaign Reform Act. Oh, buddy, if you knew what that act actually did, what that does is it actually solidifies the Republicans and the Democrats as the only two parties that can truly compete. Campaign finance reform, sure. Chargebacks. Thanks, Anti-Commie. Glad you're here, buddy. So, let me gather my thoughts back here. So, yeah, whenever these things come out, like often the politicians will tell themselves, sometimes they speak and they speak plainly what they want, but it often they are playing these semantical games because they actually have been trained or taught, or in some cases believe that their words mean something different. We all know this. We all have experienced the left. This is all, of course, why we are on the interwebs all the time. So let's see here. Patreon's terms of service, like nearly every other tech companies, provides that anyone who wants to use Patreon must do so in, use, I think that's Sue. So Cernovich, you can hire a copy editor. Pretty sure. Patreon's TOS also ban class actions or any joint actions. And that is the same with GoFundMe, as far as I understand. No class actions can be filed against them, but you can file a singular suit, which actually makes it worse. It makes it worse because then they have to counterfile for every single one. Patreon's TOS mandates arbitration and ban class actions because individual consumers who suffer small harms aren't able to find a lawyer to take their case. Again, all tech companies do this. Let's not single out Patreon. Here's Amazon. Yeah. Anyways, here's PayPal. Right. And so Owen Benjamin gets banned. Dozens of backers, individuals claim for arbitration. Patreon, under California law, must pay the arbitration fee in advance. The fees can be upward of $10,000 per case. $10,000. Okay, I was watching something else that said 200. It's been a while since since this has happened. My memory needed to be refreshed. Up to $10,000, guys. This is a way to stop them from screwing around, right? You have to make them pay. They have to pay the price, right? Don the Pleb. First time I think I had him on my show over on the Justify the Memes. I said something about, I kind of have a rebellious spirit and I'm not worried about getting in trouble for stuff. I've said F you to the man so many times and I've been in charge. I mean, as someone who was a leader, I've been like, no, sir, we're not doing that because I'm not doing that to my Marines or whoever my subordinates were. It's not ethical. It's not right. We're not going to do it. Even myself, I've done it just for me, not protecting other people. And pay the price, pay the consequences. Okay, fine. That's fine. I knew that ahead of time. I said this about the what was his name? The old Lieutenant Colonel who said some things about his leadership and was thrown in the brig. Yeah, that is a guy who was willing to pay the price. Those who aren't willing to pay the price, somebody come to mind off the top of my head right now at the moment. Again, a guy that I'm willing to forgive if he can explain some things to me is Jack Murphy. Jack Murphy was not willing to pay the price for his sins. He wanted to keep making money, keep it under wraps, do whatever. Didn't want to get rid of it, didn't want those things off the internet. I don't know what his deal was, but he didn't want to pay the price. And the history that I came across of his, and I talked about in my videos, mostly toward the end, suggests to me that he's never willing to pay the price. That's a guy who's not a legitimate actor. And I mean, most people aren't willing to pay the price. We have to be willing to take our lickings, knowing that the authorities in power on the left control and run everything and will absolutely railroad us, just like the people on January 6th. But we also have to be willing to give those same lickings. We have to put pressure on them. We have to do things that hurt them, or they just maintain the control and the power. And this is how we do it. This is one way to get it done. So I actually brought this up because I thought this was pretty good. We're going to watch some of this. I'll talk some through it. Robert Gouveia, Watching the Watchers. Good channel. Been watching him for a while. Here and there, watching a lot more of him more frequently recently. But he talks about this process. So I'm going to let him play here. And let me mute myself real quick.
It says any arbitration. So we've got basically, mandatory arbitration clause in there. And they're saying that a party who seeks arbitration has to follow this process, right? Send it over to our legal department here in California, Redwood City. Arbitration has to describe the nature, the basis of the claim, the dispute, all of that stuff. And so they want to bind you into arbitration in order to preclude you from filing a lawsuit. They also talk about, and so when the supporters of this convoy, of course, created this, right? They agreed to these terms of service. And so they said, here, no class actions. Okay, you and we agree that each may bring claims to the fullest extent legally permissible, and not though, but we have to do it in our individual capacity. Okay, not as a plaintiff or a member of any class or representative. So all the truckers, according to this, now right, there are ways that you can break this, and I'm not a civil lawyer. But this is something that, right, they're trying to say, you agreed to this, no class actions. And so there's going to be an additional roadblock, an additional barrier if one is brought. And so we have to sort of think a little bit differently about this. Is there an entity who is not a party to this agreement who may think that what GoFundMe is doing is very inappropriate? And I can think of one. Let's start by asking ourselves, where is GoFundMe located? Who has jurisdiction over this entire situation? Well, we got to go to California because that's where they're based. Crowdfunding website based out of Redwood City, California in the United States, listed as GoFundMe Inc. And we're going to use this when we fill out our complaint. And so it was launched 11 years ago. Now, in the state of California, there is something called the Attorney General. Happens to be this guy, Rob Bonta. He is the state's top lawyer and law enforcement official, and his job is to protect and serve the people and the interests of California through a broad range of duties, including safeguarding Californians from harm and promoting community safety, preserving their natural resources, helping with illegal business practices, and other consumer crimes. Okay. And so the argument here, GoFundMe is engaging in unethical business practices. Some might even say illegal. I'll save that for the end. And also engaging in something that is analogous or might even be consumer crimes, right? Like a conversion of one person's money for their ulterior purposes. And so Many people, I know what you're saying. Rob, it's California. The Attorney General of California. What is this guy going to do? He's from California. He's going to protect all, the tech bros out there in Silicon Valley. He's not going to do a thing about it. But I'm not so sure about that. Let's give this guy the benefit of the doubt on this thing, because there was a story that came out very recently that the same guy is going after the BLM charitable organization over their delinquent and murky finances. And he actually did send a formal delinquency notice about this out to the group, BLM.
Now, as far as going after BLM and delinquency notice, this is because it's monetary fraud, and what they're doing, that's the big story with them, right? Everyone, I'm sure, has heard about this. I will talk about it here in a bit once we get through all this convoy stuff. But look, man, the state wants its money. And so if you're a charity and you're doing some sort of fraudulent thing with that money, that's money that's not being taxed. So if they find out that you've done some sort of fraudulent thing, now that's money that they can seize. And that's, I guarantee you, what they do if they go forward with this. And of course, Patrisse Cullors is no longer the leader of Black Lives Matter, but she has several homes, of course, and bought the home of a communist, which is quite funny. It's like the gravesite of Karl Marx in England that you have to go pay to see. And just absurd. But anyways, I'll forward this to the next part, because I think this is where he talks about how you can file a complaint specifically.
Let's take a look at if you wanted to file a complaint, or let's say if I were filing a complaint, not encouraging anybody to do anything. I'm just showing you how it might be done. Of course, this is information that's available all over the place. Go right over to the consumer complaints section at the California website for the Attorney General. It's going to show you something that looks like this. Let's go through it. It's a very easy form. You'll notice up here, it's 3 pages, but we'll get through it real quickly. In fact, I actually have a template of this. I filled out most of this for you. It is down in the link below. So you can just download a PDF, and you're just going to have to fill in your own information. Of course,
So I showed you guys, if you are someone who donated by any chance, and you want to file a complaint, how to file a complaint against GoFundMe for stealing $9 million for Freedom Truckers, Robert Govea. Go check it out. It's in the description here. And of course, he's got timestamps and all this stuff. And right there it is. Now let's do 170. No, we don't have 175. Okay. 200 it is. All right. So, it's pretty simple. It's like filling out a job application, right? And this is the filled out form by him. So it says right there, information about the transaction. I responded to a website or email solicitation. Other, invited to support a fundraiser. And then the other one via computer, website, or email. So he's got those checked off for you. You just have to fill out your personal information. Did you sign a contract or lease? He's got an X there already. A few other things here. Do you have any attorney on the case? No. But it is a complaint. And again, it's a way to spank these folks, right? So again, if you are someone or you know someone, like, you don't have to send them to my video. I don't really care, honestly. I mean, yeah, I'd love the views, but send them over here. I'm all about propping up other people I like watching. I have no problem, and share the wealth with me. So at least this. I'm not asking for this guy's take this guy's paycheck like some filthy commie. In any case, let's look at or let's listen to the Daily Wire. They have a pretty good little breakdown here of the fullness of the situation. And again, there's video, and I just want to play a lot of video, man. Lots of video. Because again, where's the violence? Where's the justification? The police, I know they made a statement the other day about there being some violence. They, again, what name is there? Who's the person that did all this? I think they're full of it.
Canada's truckers are in a face-off with Justin Trudeau over vaccine mandates and COVID restrictions, but the Prime Minister has gone into hiding. Last week, over 50,000 truckers marched from Vancouver to the Canadian capital of Ottawa to protest strict vaccine mandates aimed at their industry. Today, and thousands of other on-foot protesters arrived in Ottawa over the weekend, gridlocking the capital and bringing the city to a halt. What began as a small group in Vancouver grew into thousands of truckers slow-rolling their rigs across the country in what they've called the Freedom Convoy.
Some insane amount of people, 50,000 trucks, that are headed to Ottawa to protest the vaccine mandate.
The movement quickly took the internet by storm, and in less than 2 weeks, we raised over $8 million and amassed over 405,000 followers on Instagram. Influential voices like Elon Musk, Joe Rogan, Russell Brand, and Donald Trump have all come out in support of the truckers.
We want those great Canadian truckers to know that we are with them all the way.
Even so, the mainstream media has remained silent. Trudeau's response to the protest, before he moved to a secret location, was to call the movement a fringe minority who held what he called unacceptable views.
The small fringe minority of people who are on their way to Ottawa, who are holding unacceptable views that they're expressing.
One participant from the protest told the Post-Millennial that he doesn't plan to leave until Trudeau resigns and the mandates are removed.
We're not saying go forward. If Justin resigns, all mandates are removed.
The movement has also expanded internationally, with trucker convoys and protests popping up in countries like Australia, Brazil, and Italy. Now, the U.S. media is stepping in to defend Trudeau and accuse the protesters of insurrection and taking food away from homeless people.
Meanwhile, Ottawa Mayor Tim Watson said some protesters harassed a soup kitchen, demanding free meals because their refusal to wear masks meant they were not to order in restaurants.
But these anti-vaxxers actually took food from the mouths of the homeless.
Some were hungry, yeah.
Because they're so put upon. This, of course, echoes the January 6th insurrection at
The mouths of the homeless. I'm sure you all have seen that too, because I was going around quite a bit. But I mean, what nonsense is that? Oh, they're taking food from the soup kitchens, the mouths of the homeless. What utter nonsense. And anyone listening to Morning Joe, anyways, not because of Joe Scarborough, mind you, but because of Mika Brzezinski, his wife, whose father is one of the greatest architects of globalism ever. Look up Big Z, Zbigniew Brzezinski. Yeah, Big Z. He's the man. He's like Henry Kissinger's freaking and George Soros's like, clone. They're all the same freaking people. They all have the same thoughts. They're the ones that have been pushing this globalist, elitist state of neo-feudalism on us for the last 40 years. Obviously, the ideas are older than that, but look them up. Actually, maybe 50 years now. Right. When was Zbigniew in the... when was he in there? Was he in there during the Carter administration? So, yes, it's over 40 years now. Something like that. Crazy. Crazy.
The U.S. Capitol last year. Now, organizers of the truckers' convoy have made it very clear that they do not want to see any violence whatsoever.
Here's how it all started. On January 15th, Canada's federal vaccine mandate for truckers went into effect. Under this rule, Canadian truckers returning from the United States must be vaccinated or take a COVID-19 test and self-quarantine for 14 days. Then, on January 22nd, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security announced that all non-American citizens coming to the states through the Mexican and Canadian borders, including truckers, must be fully vaccinated. According to the Canadian Trucking Alliance, this mandate could sideline over 20% of Canadian drivers, which would be a huge hit to the already stressed supply chain. And in the United States, we're already facing such a severe shortage of truck drivers that the federal government has created a pilot program to allow 18 to 20-year-olds to become cross-country big rig drivers.
You think that's a good idea, guys? I mean, I'm not saying anything about, the responsibility of some 18-year-olds, but you think for most 18-year-olds that that's the best idea, that the experience is the very young people who have very little experience driving should be driving multi-ton vehicles with heavy loads and precarious situations over long distances. Is that really a good idea? I mean, hell, I don't want people to vote under the age of 25. So I don't know if I really want them operating that kind of machinery. And, go work with some young people just about anywhere and see how responsible the majority of them are. But sure, that's a great idea. And let's let 15-year-olds vote while we're at it too. The Hari said they should stay in the States and let Canada run out of food. Yeah, potentially. I mean, this is the thing, though. All this is going to continue to happen where we're either going to have supply chain shortages or we're going to have these kind of protests because it is the governments that are causing these problems. Like, I don't believe, especially with the initial wave of the pandemic 2 years ago, I don't believe that there were that many people who were sick who had to be out of work. In fact, what I've seen, what experience has told me over the last 2 years is that no, we decided not to look at flu cases. The CDC said twice on two different separate occasions that the PCR test couldn't differentiate between the flu and the coof. And then on top of that, people were just assuming they all had the coof and were scared. No one wanted to do anything because everyone was scared to death because all the propaganda that was nonsense. And so things were shutting down. Most people accepted it in the very beginning, right? First month or two. But that was the wrong course. And in fact, we know now that lockdowns weren't any good. We knew then. We knew while they were going on. We did studies on them. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about the data except for, us nerds over here on the interweb, apparently. Everyone cares about their freaking emotions. Oh my God, I'm scared. There's a disease that I doubt I'll ever die from, but I could. And the old people in the nursing homes. We have to shut down all the businesses so the old people in the nursing homes who don't work don't get sick. It's not how it works, folks. If we had like a 1% or 2% death rate, I actually probably would have been like, oh yeah, well, it's not high, but it's still pretty devastating. We would have seen that. We have noticed it. It took me a year and a half, or no, a year, and then another half year, I think, to have a family member pass away. Yeah, I have a pretty big family on either side. My parents, my extended family. So not because their immediate families are big, but my grandparents and stuff like that, cousins, all those things. But I know a lot of people too. I hadn't known anybody that died. I barely knew people that had it. And everyone who had it, other than one person that I ran into, who's an acquaintance, everyone barely had a hard time with it. And then that person had it during Delta and had the harebrained idea, well, I'm going to get the vaccine as soon as I can get it. And I'm like, you already had it though. But this is the state of the world we live in. No one knows anything. No one understands anything. Nobody thinks. Nobody slows down and says, well, let me look at the information. Where are the counterpoints to this? Nobody says, what are both sides to this? No, it's all tribalism. It's all fear. It's all, I'm being told what to think. Therefore, it's correct. It's right. I put a mash the first couple months of the pandemic. I put a bunch of stuff up on my Facebook, like articles showing how the reactions were crazy. People were writing about it then, and good stuff. I've used many of them on here, on many of the videos I've done. But I put a Matt Walsh clip up. I'm not even really that big of a. I don't really like Matt Walsh. I mean, he's all right, but I'm not like a big fan of really the Daily Wire in general. They're okay. I used to watch them a lot, but just there's other stuff. They're a little bit too mainstream, conservative ink, right? And he made a good point. I remember a guy I knew from high school was, "Oh, this is typical conservative," and it's just like, dude, you should probably think before you speak, because I'm not your typical conservative, and I don't actually agree with Matt Walsh on a lot of stuff. Although every now and again he's pretty on point and he's pretty based. I will give him that. But it's like this is the world that we live in now. I don't know why people can't have conversations, why people have to make everything personalized. You're insulting their very existence, and I'm not even talking about the trans or LGBT nonsensical people. Everybody. It's insane to me. It's insane that you can wrap yourself up into things that you have nothing to do with so much to the point that it becomes part of your identity, and you're insulted when people question it. It is, I don't know. It's the infantile society that we live in. I don't know how else to put it. What'd you say? Order online pizza delivery? I guess that's the media weaponized the coup against Trump. Yes. Well, that's why the whole thing came about. It wouldn't have come about otherwise. I'm pretty certain. Maybe I'm a crazy person. I don't know. I mean, I know I'm a crazy person compared to everybody else, because everybody else goes along with what everybody else does. I mean, I didn't name the channel AllMinusOne for any particular reason. It had nothing to do with the fact that you all can go do whatever. I'm not joining your little club. I'm going to go do me every single time. Anyways, let's play the rest of this.
Of the $521 billion worth of goods traded between Canada and the United States every year, it's estimated that 2/3 are transported on roads. So needless to say, there is a lot at stake. Some Canadian executives have said that manufacturers are already seeing deliveries.
I don't know who this girl is, but does anyone else see Shapiro in her? Because she looks like a Shapiro, except for that nose. But yeah. Anyways, random. But I just keep thinking it. She looks like She looks like Ben.
Delivery delays and price increases because of the mandates. And with Canada's inflation rate hitting a 30-year high in December, and the United States hitting a 40-year high in the same month, it's clear that neither Canada or the United States can afford to take another hit to their economies. And the truckers know how significant this pain point is.
You see, Trudeau, there's something you're going to figure out. It's people like me in this industry that feed you, bring you fuel, everything you take for granted. I'm going to tell you something. We run this country, not you. Without us, this place won't move. We've had enough.
So on January 18th, soon after Canada implemented their new mandate, truckers began protesting by blocking all lanes of traffic to and from the United States near the U.S.-Manitoba border.
Dozens of trucks and other vehicles lining up at Southern Alberta's busy Canada-U.S. border crossing.
What we'd like to see is everything go back to the way it was in 2019 before all this started.
And simultaneously, they began planning something even bigger. Over the next week, they organized and raised money for a convoy. On Sunday the 23rd, the first part of the Freedom Convoy departed from Vancouver and began driving to Ottawa, Canada's capital city. Early on in the week, it was estimated that there were over 50,000 trucks and over 500,000 truckers, family members, and supporters heading towards the Canadian capital. And the convoy grew to be over 40 miles long. At first, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau seemed unfazed by the protest. and blamed Canadian conservatives for igniting supply chain concerns. He told reporters the Conservative Party and conservative politicians are fear-mongering to Canadians about the supply chain.
Now, I can tell you, because I went grocery shopping this morning, about 9 a.m., right after the store opened, went down to Aldi. I can tell you, supply chain shortages are real everywhere. Depends on where you're at, depends on your locations, specifically what you might be missing, what you're not. But they are absolutely real, and I'm sure you guys have seen them. Of course, gas prices have gone up, inflation has gone up. That's just here in the States. It's no different in Canada. Canada, some years back, I believe it was under Trudeau's father, or his supposed father, because we all know who his real daddy is. He had the Canadian dollar, I believe, up close to what an American dollar was. I mean, we always here in the States make fun of Canada. We love our northern brothers and sisters, but the reality is they're a little bit goofy compared to us folks down here who love freedom, because they have so much socialism and so much government, and it's really cold up there. I mean, you got to be an interesting person to want to live in that kind of cold. In any case, I don't know what their PMs were saying, but we're going to look at what some of them had to say here in a minute. Like I said, most of the show today is going to talk about the convoys, because I saw a lot of different stuff. I would love to clip this stuff together, guys, for you all. It's a matter of time. So the best thing I can do is just give it credit to who does these videos and play a little bit of it. But again, it's time. I'm working, 4 days a week. I work 12 hours Monday. Friday night, I got home at 2:30 in the morning. So I'm working quite a lot, and I just changed my schedule so I didn't have to work Sundays, because I was going to try and do this, run off to work, but not trying to work that late. And so last week my schedule was messed up, which I think I explained on the It's Justify the Memes, if you guys caught that. But anyways, I'm doing the best that I can. I will still stream. Sundays should be the day. As things get better, maybe I'll start streaming during the week again on Tuesdays and Thursdays if I can. Or sorry, Tuesdays and Fridays, because I work all day, like 10, 12 hours Monday and Thursday. So in any case, Ignatius, thank you for showing up, bud, and don't worry about being here late. I see that happens. I have streamed totally inconsistently for the last 2 or 3 months, so you don't need to apologize to me. I'm the one who's supposed to appreciate your presence being here. And hopefully you appreciate the content that I create and my commentary, my perspectives.
Chain. But the reality is that vaccination is how we're going to get through this. However, as the convoy grew and the truckers got closer to the capital, Trudeau seemed to change his tune. After testing positive for COVID, Trudeau said that he was isolating. However, he held a press conference outside of a residence to address the protest. He accused the group of using hateful and racist imagery.
Freedom of expression, assembly, and association are cornerstones of democracy. But Nazi symbolism, racist imagery, and desecration of war memorials are not. It's an insult, memory, and truth.
I want to play that again, because I want you guys to notice how when he's saying those things, cannot look straight into the camera, must look down. Why do you need to look down at your script, at your written speech, and remember to say Nazis and symbolism, racist symbolism, hate speech, and all those things? That should just roll off his tongue. And of course, he misspoke when he said symbolism. He said some, weird sounding word that sounds like symbolism. Don't get me wrong. I misspeak all the time on here. I'm not trusting him, trusting him. I'm not dissing him for misspeaking, but I don't trust him to speak from the heart, and I don't think that he is. That's why he has to look down at this thing.
Freedom of expression, assembly, and association are cornerstones of democracy, but Nazi symbolism, racist imagery, and desecration of war memorials are not.
Racist imagery. That's what he said. Desecration of war memorials. So, remember when BLM destroyed a bunch of statues and stuff? Now, again, I don't know if the Canadian problems were that bad with BLM, but the statue that they're talking about wasn't destroyed at all. And again, we'll get into some of that stuff, perhaps, as we go.
Not. It is an insult to memory and truth.
And then, as the truckers began to descend upon Ottawa's Parliament Hill over the weekend, Trudeau and his family moved to an undisclosed location for personal reasons. Undeterred,
The Great Reset beta. Ooh, I like that. I might have to, Samuel, I might have to steal that, buddy. The beta. This is the beta test, isn't it not? Oh man, that's pretty clever, man. You if that's not you, you're gonna have to tell me who said that.
over 10,000 protesters joined the truckers on foot and began to occupy Ottawa's Parliament neighborhood, where they are singing, dancing, holding church services, and peacefully protesting. While it looks like there won't be a confrontation between the protesters and Trudeau soon, because of his COVID quarantine, there might still be an opportunity. Many participants have indicated that they will continue to protest and block streets for weeks, months, or even years. Organizers say that they have raised enough money to keep the protest going for as long as 2 to 4 years. For the latest updates on Canada's trucker protest, even if it does stretch for a couple of years, visit dailywire.com. I'm Brett Cooper. Thanks for watching.
Brett Cooper. She got a boy's name? Anyways, or did she say Britt? Britt Cooper. All right. All right. So this, again, a little breakdown, but there's more information there, which is why I want to play these things. Like the best way to do this, folks, is of course to aggregate all the different things. So this is from ET Transport, and honestly, it's a pretty good video.
Thousands of protesters on Parliament Hill calling for an end to vaccine mandates and public restrictions. Over the weekend, an extreme weather alert, but that didn't stop these Canadians. These protesters were later joined by other drivers and demonstrators in all regions of the country that, in some cases, traveled thousands of kilometers to put their message to the streets outside the Prime Minister's office in the downtown Warren.
Real quick, I wanted to, I forgot to highlight, let you guys know. This is from January 31st. So this is before things got really heated here recently.
Many trucks that have gathered along Wellington Street in front of the Parliament building are adorned with banners, emails, public health measures, and Prime Minister Justice Trudeau. Dozens of truckers are relaxing their homes to announce their president. Sources say that Trudeau and his family have to move to an undisclosed location. But let's look at other evidence. So just to give you a little bit of background information on how this is going to work. So we have 338 MPs that represent us in the House of Commons that we have appointed that our taxpayers are paying them. So here are some of the responses from our MPs, our members of Parliament, and our transport ministers. Let's see what they have to say. So let's start off with our conservative leader, Aaron O'Toole, who did say he considered in January to ask 3 times on whether or not he was responsible for 2022. Let's hear what he has to say.
All right, real quick, Samuel, sorry, I have my mic unmuted so I could talk. I try because it's not in StreamYard, so echo. Let me know if sound's an issue. When I started earlier, sound was an issue, and it had to do with a setting in StreamYards. Hey, Holly, good to be here. We've been talking about Canada this whole time. Not really, but sort of. In any case, this clip I brought up because he's got a bunch of clips from MPs. I have a couple other MPs, some other people, their thoughts on this. Like I said, I wanted to The audio sounds like it's in a pool. Okay. Can't do anything about it. Tell me.
Thousands of protesters on Parliament Hill calling for an end to vaccine mandates and public.
Hmm. Yeah, hit the like button, latecomers. Tell me, I'm restarting this. Now that I see that, I'm going to mute myself. You guys tell me if this is any better. If not, well, I guess I'll move on.
Over the weekend, an extreme weather alert, but that didn't stop these Canadians. These protesters were later joined by other drivers and demonstrators from all regions of the country that, in some cases, traveled thousands of kilometers to take their message to the streets outside the Prime Minister's office in the capital. The many trucks that have gathered along Wellington Street in front of the Parliament building are adorned with banners, emails, public health measures, and Prime Minister Justice Today. Dozens of truckers have black in their homes to announce their presence. Sources say that Hugo and his family have been moved to an undisclosed location. But let's look at other MPs. What have they said? So just to give you a little.
Well, if it's quiet, guys, it's on their end. Because I see Spook says, Dahari says it was a little bit harder. A little hard to make out. Well, you guys can maybe watch this later. I think some of the clips that he pulls might have better sound. So we'll see. You know, this is what you get for the lazy Sunday stream. Unmute the mic? I don't think so. No, when I unmute the mic, it echoes. I need to mute it because even though my mic is a directional mic, it does pick up from elsewhere sometimes.
A little bit of background information on how the system works. So we have 338 MPs that represent us in the House of Commons that we have appointed that our tax dollars are paying them. So here are some of the responses from our MPs, our members of Parliament, and our transport ministers. Let's see what they have. So let's start off with our Conservative leader, Aaron O'Toole. This is the footage from January 6th to the past 3 times on whether or not the Congress needs to pursue. Let's hear what he has to say. Do you support the Congress, the schools, that people will take up the lives of the people to be disrupted? And all again, the people who are the leaders of the leaders of the country, we should have to the Canadian technical lives and even their personal lives. Many people actually so what's your message to efforts to
crystal clear. We've been meeting with the Canadian Trucking Association for.
And now let's fast forward a few days, Friday, January 26th. And here's what Aaron was tweeted. Today, a network trucker is heading to Ottawa. Truckers are our neighbors, our family, and most importantly, they are our fellow Canadians. And another tweet, I support your right to be heard. And I call on listeners to go to news with these hardworking Canadians to hear their concerns. It seems to me that over 4 days, our conservative leader has a kingdom heart. Next, we have Michael Cooper, member of Parliament. Let's see what he has to say. In a statement he released on Saturday, then.
All right. Well, you guys are saying there's no audio now. There's not. Now there isn't. I don't know. I don't know. So I'm going to leave this be. Go find the video. Because it has a list of what, like, Holly, you're probably more aware of this than most of us who not living in Canada aren't paying attention to the politics up there as closely. It's hard to keep up with our own politics here. But I did find this a nice speech by Candace Bergen.
We all support free speech in this house, but there's a big difference between free speech and inciting hatred, inciting violence.
The honourable member for Portage Lisker.
Mr. Speaker, all Canadians want to see a leader who will work to heal rifts, not further divide. A leader who will listen, even to those voices he might not agree with. The leader who will work to understand, not dismiss, name call, and gaslight. Contrary to some, there are thousands of passionate, patriotic, and peaceful Canadians on the Hill right now who just want to be heard. Will the Prime Minister extend an olive branch, and will he listen?
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
So I rewound that and I realized that was wound up a little bit, or forward a little bit. YouTube might be doing something, but I tried to watch one of the convoy live streamers earlier, and it was live streaming because there were people in the live chat, and I couldn't. It would not let me in. I could get into anything else. It was on my phone, because I was out running errands, but it kept cycling. And they changed recently. I ran into this the other day where they said this is a new channel, therefore we're restricting live viewers. Some people have reported this, I've heard now, but I had this happen to me the other day. I tried to watch something. I don't even know if it was anyone I normally watch. It was just something that popped up. It looked interesting. I was like, oh, I want to check it out. And I couldn't watch the freaking stream. Too many live viewers on this new channel we haven't vetted yet. We'll talk about some YouTube stuff, maybe. See how long I stream here. I might go till 6 today, guys. I don't think I'll be doing much longer than that. So let me play the rest of this.
I think we all support free speech in this house, but there's a big difference between free speech and inciting hatred, inciting violence, desecrating war memorials, Mr. Speaker. And I would hope my honourable colleague would denounce that in the clearest terms, Mr. Speaker. Those radical leaders are not really interested in free speech because they want to pretend as though vaccines don't work. On this side of the house, we know vaccines work. That's the gateway to freedom. And this.
Wait. YouTube, are you going to censor me for playing this PM because he just gave misinformation? It unequivocally does not work against Omicron. Unequivocally. Potentially a fourth, fifth booster might give some protection. This data is out there, guys. And again, I'm not in the data as much as I could be because I'm, working a job nearly full time or more, whatever crazy hours I'm doing right now. But this is a false statement, and it doesn't stop the spread. It only protects you against one thing in the coronavirus, and that is the spike protein, the thing that is the most dangerous and most troublesome. So that's good, except for your body produces the thing itself. I don't know how good that is. This is part of the repeated, when people get repeated injections, why they have heart issues sometimes. Of course, we also have seen where it has not stayed in the ejection site and has gone elsewhere. Scary stuff. So this guy is going to sit there and say, we know that they work, when every health organization across the world, including the WHO and the CDC, have said, no, not true. I mean, this is the same nonsense people talking about, oh, you couldn't spread it. Breakthrough cases are rare, yada, 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 who never looked at Israeli data. Or that we must lock down because, well, that's the way to do it, except for South Korea didn't, Japan didn't, well, I never talk about Mexico, but Mexico really didn't. People just went on about their business there. Sweden, all these places, all over the world, there were places, but a lot of these countries aren't into the globalist system as much, right? Don't get me wrong, Mexico, I think, is more because the cartels are a bigger government there than their actual government. So that's probably a big reason why, but it depends. It all depends. So let's continue with the video.
Government will do everything that we can to get there. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Portage Lisker.
Of course, we all condemn hateful and destructive acts by a few at any protest. Whether it's beheading the statue of Queen Victoria in Manitoba, tearing down the statue of Sir John A. in Montreal, or putting flags on Terry Fox, whether it's burning churches, whether it's wearing blackface, whether it's Hezbollah flags or Nazi flags, we all condemn it. But I'm not talking about that, Mr. Speaker.
Look at that. Standing ovation. Why? Because nobody's arguing about that crap. Nobody. No, the only people that argue for that are the people that are evil on the left who are saying, yeah, we are going to tear it down. Yeah, it is good because these were horrible people at some point, or they represent something. You know what they represent? They represent the past that wasn't communistic. That's what they represent. You know, most people don't know who Milan Kundera is. Milan Kundera was a Czech. I might get this right. I always get this confused. Yugoslav or Czech. I'm pretty sure he's Czech. Who was a communist. He's an author. He has a book called The Book of Laughter. It's a satirical look at how communism works and how they erase people's histories in order to remold them. This is what they do. They have to atomize everyone, destroy everything, so you don't know who you are. You're completely confused. You're completely lost. The society can then be controlled from the top. This is exactly how North Korea works. Give me a sec. I moved my books up here the other day. Not all of them. I can't fit all my books in the bedroom. But anyways, you all know In Order to Live. Yeah? By Yeonmi Park. Now, in order for her to get freedom, she basically had to be a sex slave for some years with really bad people. And the only reason why she would do that is because she never knew the value of herself. Now, some people do things in desperate situations. She didn't know the value of herself because, folks, she was taught her entire life that she was a worthless nothing. And she believed it. She believed that the military soldiers who were above her in their caste system in North Korea could do whatever they wanted. And they did. They wanted her for the night. They would take her. Now, she was younger, but they did this to all kinds of women all over the place. This is what happens. The system of communism is nothing more than a state-enforced system of mass slavery. It essentially is serfdom for the masses and wealth and luxury for a very, very few.
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, let's be abundantly clear that those individuals who've called for the incitement of violence to overthrow this government, who have caused significant disruption by flagrantly ignoring public health care measures that have forced shops and businesses to close, that have desecrated war memorials are not interested in free speech. They're not interested in discourse, and they're certainly not interested in advancing our way out of this pandemic, Mr. Speaker. This government will always listen to those who want to have a robust.
This guy, you cannot out-vax your way out of this pandemic. It will not work. You know, if I'm not streaming next week, guys, it's because YouTube struck me with this video for saying the things I have. But I've been all right so far for a while. I've been all right. And you can't. You can't because there are animal reservoirs. And we know this. It was brought up a long time ago. I tried to play a video on here. I had immediately yeeted. Immediately. Appealed it immediately. Within a minute of my email, got a response back. Meaning it was automated. YouTube's been censoring other people here lately. No, nothing new, right? They're just going to shoot themselves in the foot like all of these people. And I'll tell you what the second thing that will happen if these trucker convoys cannot continue, if their funding continue to get cut off, and if the government, what did you say, Holly, up here, that they're trying to call a state of emergency to cut off all fuel and supplies to the protesters. Yeah, I saw auto walk. There's a couple I have listed up here, but auto walkouts, I think I saw that one. I think it's up here. In fact, I think it's right here, Holly. No. That's Viva. Never mind. But if these people basically have no means to support themselves, they're fine. Don't do the deliveries then. Who's going to deliver there? The trucker shortages are real. Who is going to get these things to the cities? See, and then what's going to happen? Well, you're going to have the politicians go, well, these crazy anti-vaxxer, white supremacists, these white supreme pizza anti-jab bigots, they're the ones starving you out. It's not our fault that we won't let them in. It's not our fault that our policies that are protecting you people, you plebs, you morons, you fools who can't live your own lives by yourselves because you're grown, infantilized adults. It's all their fault. It's the other. Notice how everything's always an other. It's always a scapegoat, isn't it? It's always never about personal responsibility. It's never about owning up to what you did. It's never about making yourself better. It's never about improving the world through yourself. It's all external. Everything is the world. I am perfect. The world needs to change for me. All of this, every time, goes right back to their narcissism, doesn't it? See, I know no matter how good anyone ever sees me in their eyes, no matter how kind I am to somebody, no matter what I can do for them, I am a horrible person. I am capable of horrible things. I have done horrible things. I've done things I wish I hadn't done. I have mucked up my life plenty, just like all of you. And maybe some of you out there are saints and angels and you've never done anything wrong or horrible. Maybe you've never felt guilty. Maybe you've never hurt anyone's feeling. Maybe you're a psychopath because, I think that's a strange human experience that you've been perfect your entire life. But look, my point is I will acknowledge that I've been not the best person, that I've been a real piece of crap. And I'm striving and wanting to do better every minute of my life. But the one thing I will never do is say that everyone else made me that way. Sure. Were there influences? Sure. Is my brother my keeper? Sure. But in the end, whose responsibility is it? Mine. And when you're a leader, guess what? The buck stops with you, bud. I guarantee you, any situation of true leadership, any expression of that, the person will never, ever blame 50 other million things. They will immediately take the responsibility for themselves. And I talk about it all the time because he's one of the few people that talks about it. So I like him because he talks about it. But Jocko Willink will tell you that exact same thing. Jocko Willink was a Navy SEAL. I was a Marine. Why do we both know this? Because we both had good leadership training, because we both understand what it takes to be a good leader. We understand the sacrifices. People don't want to pay the price. They don't want to pay the cost. And they want to sound like they are the savior without having to actually own up to it. This is another reason why, by the way, folks, no one really wants to take any action on this pandemic. It's why Ron DeSantis is so just mind-boggling to the left, because he's doing things so antithetical to what they want. Let's see, I had some chats here. Let me check the entropy real quick, guys. I'm going to keep playing this video. It's not very long. I just keep interrupting it.
Debate about public health care measures, but we have to draw a bright line between those who are interested in that debate and those who are not.
Well, that minister is not telling the truth, and it's shameful to see what he is doing. Accusing Canadians of being...
Order. I think both sides are very truthful in saying what they say. Whether they agree with it or not is something that is another story. But calling someone who's basically calling them a name or accusing them of something is not permitted in the House. I'll let the honourable member for Portage Lister start from the top, and I'm sure she'll ask the question correctly.
Mr. Speaker, and I apologize that minister is misleading Canadians. I do get very defensive of Canadians who are outside today, patriotic, peace-loving Canadians who are called misogynist and racist by the Prime Minister. So again, I will ask the Prime Minister, who, may I remind this House, wore blackface on more times than he can remember, apologize to the peace-loving, patriotic Canadians who are outside right now just asking to be heard. Will he speak to them?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think this is a moment where we have to acknowledge that the protests that have occurred have made their point. And I would ask the member opposite to encourage the people that are outside to continue in a way that is peaceful, that moves beyond what we have seen. Ottawa is being paralyzed right now. We're seeing imagery that's not appropriate.
So yeah. Imagery that's not appropriate, blah, blah, moves beyond what? What you've seen. What are you talking about? Show examples. I get it. This is Parliament, runs a little differently than Congress and the U.S. We actually have far more order than they do. This is closer to the UK and how they run things. But let's play the last little bit, the last 40 seconds or so of this video, and keep moving.
I'm going to ask the Honourable Minister to hold on for a second. Because I'm sure the Honourable Member for Portage Lister wants to hear an answer to the question she asked. No, I'll let the Honourable Minister continue from where he left off.
Just say this, Mr. Speaker. I was in opposition. I was in opposition for about 7 years. And there were times where I was overheated in my rhetoric. There were moments where I got too carried away with what I believed passionately at the time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that happens, right? So let's see. Valuetainment, excellent channel, by the way. Really great channel. And in fact, you want to look at I addressed the human trafficking thing earlier, came up. Holly, since you just stopped in, I was showing the campaigns on Give Send Go, and when I was looking this up earlier today to find the actual campaign for the convoys, and there's also one they're building right now for DC. I came across this, which is Truckers Against Trafficking. And this is a big deal because that's probably the biggest problem with our border crisis. I honestly don't really care about the drugs. People get to do what they want to do. I'd rather than be regulated, but the human trafficking is terrible. Slavery is terrible. And so the Valuetainment does a lot of stuff on that when they can. They get people on. So go check them out if you don't know them. In any case, they're a pretty big channel, right? They got like 3 million subs, something like that. And here, Patrick's going to talk with Jordan Peterson for a few minutes. And I'm a Peterson fan, guys. So just sit back, listen. I know people hate on Peterson, whatever. If you don't like him, meh, whatever. It's, in any case, is Justin Trudeau a coward for fleeing Canada during the Freedom Convoy? And there's a couple nuggets in here, of course, that are good. So figure again, we'd play it, show it, talk about it.
Trudeau flees as trucker convoys enters Ottawa. As thousands of protesters enter Ottawa, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his family were moved from their home to an undisclosed location somewhere in the city on Saturday afternoon due to security concerns. A Freedom Convoy from 2,700 truckers entered the Canadian capital of Ottawa Saturday to protest Trudeau's
security
concern. This is a PM. So COVID-19 policies, according to the Independent, around 100 big rigs blockaded a Main Street running past the Canadian Parliament building. So that's going on. He just tested positive for COVID. Now it's coming into U.S. They froze the GoFundMe account, which raised over $10 million and nearly 140,000 people that donated. And now American truckers are kind of getting involved and saying, listen, we're kind of, yeah,
Facebook, 137,000 subscribers. That group, they kicked them off. Yeah, you wait till you see your election this year. You're going to see plenty of that.
How bad do you think the consequences are going to be? You really think, some people like talk to some people like, well, professionals in my community are like, we do a truck. I haven't seen anything on the news. You haven't seen anything on the news. You don't know what's going on with truckers. I read Wall Street Journal and New York Times. I know nothing about what's going on in Canadian truckers. They don't watch, obviously, Fox. Maybe they don't watch.
And this is in part why I cover this. I'm sure Fox covered it. Lots of people are talking about it, but it's important because it's effective. It's obviously very, very effective. If it wasn't effective, they wouldn't be freaking out right now. They wouldn't be taking their funding. They wouldn't be doing all of the things that you would do to try and stop something like this from happening. And it's effective because, well, the bottom line is you need goods, you need services, and the only way they're going to get there is through the truckers. Unless we go back to railroads, and I can promise you that's way more inefficient.
Right? But it's not the same thing with the John Hopkins.
Yeah, same exact thing.
Exactly.
Why did you not see it? How would I?
Yeah, so he says, you really think these truckers are going to do any kind of anything? It's truckers. You think they're going to have any influence?
Truckers. The way he said it. He said it's like
truckers.
Kind of looking down on them because they can't express it with intellectual thought. The leader of the Socialist Party in Canada, so hypothetically on the side of the working class, the people who are most opposed to the truckers in Canada are the people who vote NDP. About 20% of the population is stable in Canada, and now and then we have a socialist provincial government, and they've done some good. I don't want to get into that, but like I said, there are people on that side of the equation who, for example, were fostered in the labor movement, and they had things to say. The working class needs to have their say, but the vast majority of people who vote NDP in Canada are opposed to the truckers. Like, I thought you guys were on the side of the working class. Like, what's happened? Well, not them. It's like, hey, man, welcome to the working class.
YouTube is doing the thing again, muting the audio. So let's test that out.
In the lady movement, and they had things to say. You guys were on the side of the working class. What's happened? Well, not them. It's like, hey, man, welcome to the working class.
Guys, that is a StreamYards thing. I just watched
YouTube is doing the thing again, muting the.
Sorry, that is a StreamYards thing. I just watched it over on the Entropy. Entropy's running through DLive, so that is not a YouTube thing, but it's StreamYards. Has to be. Anyways, I'll hit play again.
those truckers. Well, they're all white supremacists and racists. Like, really, in Canada, are they now? White supremacists, really? Or Nazis in Canada? There aren't any of them. There's some dimwit was waving a Confederate flag at the rally. And the truckers, he was masked. The truckers stripped him of his mask and chased him away. But all the mainstream press reported Confederate flags at the trucker rally. As if that matters. It's like, it's not like there are a lot of Canadians, by the way, flying the Confederate flag. First of all, that's not our country.
Exactly.
And second, most Canadians, I would say, don't really know.
All right. Kizza just came, so I'm gonna have to end the show now. Hey Kiz, what's up, man? I haven't seen you around. Not that I've been really around, but thanks for joining in.
In any deep sense, what Confederate flag stands for. I mean, people aren't that informed, and I'm not being condescending. They have other things to concern themselves about.
It's the premise of what you just said that validates some people how much of a role people like Joe Soros plays to get protesters out there that are actors and they're not real and they're trying to instigate. They say, here, this is how people are feeling because the biggest mover and shaker emotion is what? Anger. Anger is the way you get people to say, you know what, these guys are white supremacists, these guys are this. And so this validates how some people have that argument. It also validates how Facebook does their algorithms. They want people arguing in the comment section. Anger basically begets more comments and more, basically more eyeballs.
Emotion, guys. Emotionalism. There is always going to be emotion. And there are good and bad emotions, right? The root of emotions, though, are pretty simple. There's anger, fear, love, and joy. That's pretty much it. And now they get more diverse or whatever, but as far as the root basic, right? And so two of those we would consider good, and two of those not necessarily good. So it's a tool. But what makes people in a state that is productive and positive, and what makes people in a state that is negative and a downward spiral? Well, we know anger and fear put people in a downward spiral. If you act proactively in a situation, you will never have a stress response like you will have as you are reacting to a situation. There is a stress response in both situations, but one is a positive stress response and the other one is a negative stress response that, again, is you trying to catch up to what you're reacting to. And this is called, in sports psychology, this is called the performance spiral, if you would, or where you get into a flow state. And so you can go up in the performance spiral and you can get in a place where everything just flows because all your techniques are down, your body's working in conjunction with your mind, you have a heightened sense of awareness, everything is great and good. This also happens in combat, by the way, as you get experienced. Whereas when combat first happens to people, troops, soldiers, they tend to experience larger effects that are debilitating. So auditory exclusion is a very common thing. I've experienced it. I've experienced slow time. That's another one. But auditory exclusion protects you from a loud bang when you shoot your gun. However, it's not the best thing if you're trying to give commands to each other from people, but usually you can still hear those things. When your body is overstressed, it will just shut out everything, right? You'll get tunnel vision. Everything will zoom in. Put your hands up like blinders, like a horse blinder, right? You know all it is. It's not how you see. You actually see pretty far out. I can still see with my periphery. You can still see my hand. Let's see that side. Yeah, it's about here. So that's pretty good, right? Like my hands are pretty far out to the side of my head. So we see a lot further than this zoomed in space, but that's what happens when you get stressed. Those negative states of emotion. They release a ton of hormones that are going to have you in a negative state, cause more stress to your body, inflammation, all the bad stuff, right? because we are a psychophysiological being. The two things are interconnected. And I would even talk about this, say this all the time in a Christian perspective. This has always been the case in Christianity. The mind doesn't live, or the spirit, the soul, I should say the spirit, because those are different things. The soul does not live without the body. That's actually a Greek idea, a Gnostic kind of idea as well, but it's not a Christian idea. The soul and the body are unified. You are, as a being, God's breathed the spirit into the body, and we became a living soul. And the soul is your uniqueness, your essence. You could call it your mind if you would. It's where we get the psyche from, psyche, right? Psychology, the mind. So all these things are related. But to the point, the fear emotion is what they're always driving. Do you think that a non-repressive, non-tyrannical government would be prodding and poking at its people with fear propaganda and fear porn all the time? It's just a question to consider.
Balls and more saying, like, how many Canadians even know what the Confederate flag means?
Right. And there's one, like there's 50,000 people. We don't even know how many people are in Ottawa.
Yeah.
That's a wildly different number. The idea that there was 100 trucks, that's just completely insane. There's like 10 times that number minimum. And so that's another thing that's so appalling, is you can't actually get accurate information. And then, yeah, well, this Trudeau fleas issue, that I don't like that. It's not like I view that with any sense of satisfaction or delight. Like, I'm not a fan of Trudeau because I don't think he's capable of saying an honest word, and I truly mean that. And I've watched his speeches over and over, watching to see what's going on with them, and all I see is acting. But despite that, why would I be happy that the leader of my country ran away from a protest citing security concerns, which is a very bad move to begin with? Like, well, I have to leave because you people are so dangerous.
It's like it shows weakness?
No, it's worse than that. It's an instigation. It's an instigation because he said that the reason he had to leave was because of security concerns, which means you people are dangerous and not to be trusted. And I don't think the truckers so far are dangerous and not to be trusted. And I've been watching them handle this. They're playing this very peaceful for the number of people who are involved in the demonstration. And that's despite the potential effect of instigator types. And that's a real threat. So even with that, it's being peaceful. And they've set up food camps to feed the homeless, and they're shoveling the snow in front of the war monument. And now they have a guard around the Terry Fox statue. Terry Fox was a man, one-legged Canadian who ran across the country raising money for cancer, and he's a Canadian hero. And his statue was desecrated in the language of the mainstream press. They put a upside down Canadian flag on it and put some clothing on him, which was desecration. Which, okay.
So we just listen to the PMs talk about that. Yeah, no, not after what we saw last year. In fact, I did a video talking about Frederick Douglass because when the anniversary of a very famous speech that he gave, his statue was destroyed on the spot that it was given in New York, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So those were BLM members, Antifa. And, I know I'm not surprising anybody here, but BLM is not some group that's about black people. It's not about that at all. It's about Marxism and using black people as a club and a weapon over your head because you're a dirty, bigot, racist, homophobe, whatever you are. It's not real. It's not a real movement. It's just a callback to your emotions. Like when someone calls you a racist for no reason. And maybe you are a racist. So what? Don't act on it. Don't hurt anybody. I'm cool. That's all I need. Don't hurt people you don't like. because we can sit here and talk about racism's evil and racism's bad, but I know every one of you out there, there's somebody you don't like. There's somebody that gets on your nerves. There's somebody that is annoying to you. There's somebody that you might even hate. And you don't treat them badly most of the time. You may not be super nice to them, or you may not talk to them. You might avoid them, but you don't actively try and destroy their lives. And so if you can hold that hate about any individual random person and not act on it, I'm pretty sure people who believe that skin color means something can live their lives without acting on it. Pretty sure that that's a reality. And see, no one cares though if you hate somebody for no in particular reason. But if you hate them for their skin color, now you're an evil person, right? It's an interesting world we live in. That's all I know. At least for me, because I don't think I perceive things like everyone else is perceiving them. But hey, whatever. Anyways, let's play the rest of this.
Have it your way. In any case, the truckers set up a guard around the statue, so that's not going to happen again. And they seem to be not taking the bait. And so I hope that continues, and that this proclivity to instigate, which would be extraordinarily convenient for Mr. Trudeau, and which is an easy out for him, I'm praying that doesn't happen. Is there a reason why you wouldn't show up for something like this? Like the truckers, or at least one of your voice? No, the reason I'm not there is because I have other commitments, right? I'm on this tour, and people have bought tickets, and there's thousands of them, and that's what I'm doing. And, I put out videos in support of them, and which I think in some senses, well, the video I put out last week is a message to the conservative premiers, essentially, and the conservative leader who lost his position last week because there was a revolt at the federal level. And so our main opposition party transformed leadership last week, in no small part as a consequence of the trucker company. I put out this video calling on these conservative premiers to drop the damn mandate. And so it's, I mentioned earlier, it's got about 1.5 million views. It's called Seize Today. And that's as effective or more effective than me being there. So as far as I can tell, and besides, it's the best I can do under the current circumstances, given everything. So if you enjoy this,
Dahari, that's a pretty good point, but that's honestly what I think. I think most people that have racial biases don't really generally hate, because I've been around people who are like, oh, they say the things like, oh, the darkies, like keep them away and that kind of stuff. But I've never seen them act out on it. I really don't like, when they interact with people, they actually are polite and act normal. So people say things that they don't, one, really believe, or two, really act out. And Peterson, as one of the reasons why I like Peterson, is because he makes that point. You don't believe something you don't act out. That's the bottom line. You only believe what you act out. And I didn't get that from Peterson, honestly. Although when he started saying that, I really perked up and listened, because I knew that. I got that from the early church fathers. I got that from the early church, from Christianity. Now, mind you, modern Christianity doesn't believe that. They just think if you think things, you're cool. But that's because they're a bunch of Gnostics, and they are. They argue over whose theology is correct, and what's the proper soteriology, which is the study of salvation, that kind of stuff. Can you do this? Can you do that? And blah, 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 blah. Instead of trying to think about what should you be doing, not what can you do. That's always, I'm always skeptical about a Christian. So when it claims that they want to know and being, excuse me, guys, I'm really sorry. Let me just clear my throat for good. All right. I'm always skeptical of a Christian that claims to be like in Christ, in the church and whatever, and they're always trying to figure out what they can do or what they can't do, I should say, instead of what they should be doing and how they should be acting and thinking and living. But what can I do, or what can I not do? What are the rules? How can I walk that line very finely so that God's all right with me? Like, that's not how it works, man. How it works is you commit yourself to being different, to be doing better, to, I don't know, not be such a total POS anymore. That's what's important here. But it's the same, like I said, with racism. Like, yeah, I know people that have like, and the thing is, it's always like, the blacks, they're the special class. But you can hate on Asians if you do it right. You can hate on Hispanics if you do it right. You can hate on any other group other than maybe the Jews, because they got connections. But my point is it's always this one scapegoat. It's always this one thing. And I don't know a point in history where any group that was ever in slavery, and I don't want to hear this nonsense how chattel slavery was the worst slavery ever. That's absolute nonsense. Slavery throughout all of history was horrible. Some slaves were treated better than others, depending on the time period and their masters. And not everyone in chattel slavery was treated horribly either. But the point is that that no matter the point in history, there's always been some group coming out of slavery, entering into freedom. There always has been. Always. In the lessons of the East, of Eastern Europe, of the Soviet Union are very important for us here, because they were people who were slaves, who then became serfs, which is basically still a slave, but you get a little bit more freedom, and then went straight into communism. These people have never known freedom, generationally, true freedom. Now, some of them did, and some of the other Slavic nations, right? Not just Russia, whatever, but other Slavic nations have known it to some degree. But for the majority of Slavs, the word means slave, right? Or where we get our word slave from, it actually means tongue. It means common tongue. It's a common tongue amongst, a people group, right? But those people for thousands of years were prized slaves. And then the Tsar said, well, you can have some land. So they're serfs. And then they're basically minor peasants, have a little bit of money. And then all of a sudden the communists come along and go, you're the evil capitalists for having all this land, you people that were slaves for the last 1,000 years. It's kind of interesting, right? And here we are. We're I know it's not that far removed. I mean, it's a couple people ago, but here we are with slavery. I don't know. We're going on 200 years behind us. And like, we're not quite there, right? It's gonna be a while from now, but it's like 150 years going on toward 200 years behind us. And everything always comes back down to that. And it's the systemic racism. It's this and that. It's all the other excuses. It's all the external emotional appeals. I'll tell you what, be truthful with yourself for a minute, or anybody, and see how much they like it. Because I promise you, no one likes that stuff. I mean, very few of us. No one likes to be criticized. No one likes to be told the hard, God's honest truth. Almost nobody does. It just isn't happening. People always want their emotions to be met. Like I said, best dating advice I could ever give any guy. Learn how to deal with a woman's emotions. Keep your own in check, remain stoic, and deal with theirs. And give her good, positive feelings and emotions. I guarantee you'll have your ride or die girl. I promise. That's all game's about. Every ounce of it. All the little manipulations, all the little stuff they try to teach. That's all it's about. You go out, you give your partner good emotions. Why? Because women are the more emotional of our species, and they thrive on it. How do you think the Democrats have 70% of their roles filled with women. All right. I'm probably not going to get to half to what I want to get to today, actually. So here's Viva. I want to play this. I should probably be getting out of here soon by 6, but I have other things I want to cover. Let me just go through. Here's some channels that you guys can check out, though, that have some of this Freedom Watch or Freedom Watch, Freedom Convoy, about Alexa Mobile has stuff. Of course, Viva I had up there. Here's an hour of this Christ forgiveness. I like this guy. I can't remember his name, but he's a pastor. David Lynn. Okay, there you go. Goes around. He'll talk to people, confronts people. I'm not real into like guerrilla preaching style preaching, but this guy, you know, or street corner preaching, but he does his thing, and he has good content for what it is. He'll challenge the LGBT people in the street and everything else. He'll be called a bigot and all the other things. And he's a black man, of course, but it doesn't matter when, you know, you don't have the right opinions. Here's another one. It's live right now. So this has several camera feeds. And that's my treasure hunter. And again, like I know you guys are competent, but who knows who's going to come across this channel? You know, Rupert Lee has some stuff there. There's all kinds of stuff all over the internet. And again, I've yet to see, because I guarantee you, if there was violence and nonsense, it would be all over the left-wing establishment media, because they need to propagandize everybody. War campaign. There's another one. So it's like all over the interwebs, right? But I did want to play this little clip with Viva. This will probably be the last thing I talk about in the convoy. But you know, aren't we supposed to be listening to the children? Think of the children, folks. Think of the children.
To us from Nick Hafer. Hold on one second, guys. I'm just going to use my head, push it in. Why are they lying to us? You wouldn't want to piss off your employer under normal circumstances. And when you are beholden to people or entities for financial support, they end up being your employers. You just might have a
Holly, I know. I briefly mentioned it. I didn't have a clip or time to get a full clip. I saw Salty Cracker covered it yesterday, but yes. And that wasn't one of the protesters, as far as I understand. It was somebody else. And yes, just like you said, not a peep.
a more independent contract in that you don't have to do what they say, but they won't support you if you don't do what they say. So you are indirectly, you're not employed, but you're dependent. Is the audio good enough, guys? Like you can still hear? Let me just make sure. The audio now is good enough, and I'll wait for an answer. Let me see. And by the way, I think I scared the woman with the shovel because I think she might have thought that I was of the bad media. Let's see here. Okay, the audio is fine. So CTV's not employed by the government. They just happen to be bailed out by the government. They just happen to be reliant on the government for COVID ads. And this type of financial pressure tactic was used on Radio X in Quebec City, where the government and other interests beholden to the government. We're going to pull our advertising. Like the message coming from the radio station. Other people that really count as the biggest radio station market there, and we get good ads. By the way, the garbage bag, 5%, and they actually have
So let's highlight that, because unlike left-wing protests, which we always know are a mess, and there are just all kinds of things left behind, trash everywhere, masks, bottles, everything else. These are the environmentalists, by the way. They burn down cities, they beat people up, but they're the good protests. And these peaceful, organized people who just don't agree with their tyrannical government, they're the bad guys, right? Just want to make sure that was highlighted.
And the sidewalks do not. So they try to, the government and corporate interests will try to use their ad money as leverage to, get people to subtly comply and promote the message they want. So that's why CTV might be dying media, struggling for ad revenue to exist, and they've been getting.
All right. The sound is weird. Cool. Now I have no sound. StreamYards does auto adjust. I have my volume at a set point. It's pretty high because some things are louder, some things are lower. So if I'm like stupid loud to you guys, you should let me know. I can't adjust that, but what I wanted to get to was what was right here. And hopefully I reloaded it, it'll sound better.
The government will pull back those ad dollars.
Presence is power, and power is.
Okay, cool. Got another dog here. Good yourself.
Awesome.
You might be on the interwebs.
Sure. Yeah, well, you can interview Braden there, and I'm his dad.
How you doing? Why did you guys come down?
We came here because of the mask mandates.
You're in grade 5? 4. Masks. Hold on, I'm gonna do this. You don't mind if you can? I don't know. You are. If I presume you're doing the same thing my kid's doing, you wear a mask all day long.
Yes.
How does? Look, this is from a kid, people, and it's his lived experience. So don't challenge it. How does that feel physically? How does it feel psychologically?
It feels heartbreaking because it's just I feel bad for all the people that have to wear it every single day, and I'm one of them. And honestly, I can't breathe. And I don't know if any of you are aware of this, but in schools, they're leaving all the windows open. It's very cold. So I have to wear a jacket, toques, and
some days when it's
some
really
days
cold.
when it's really cold.
There was
And
one day
mitts.
it was minus 30, and there was 3 of the windows that were open, and I was absolutely shocked. So the next day, I went into the school. It was Rockwood School in Winnipeg, and I had to confirm for myself that the windows were open, and they were open, and they seemed to be okay with it. So
I can attest to you. I can attest that the government's method of combating alleged transmission in schools, because air quality in schools is a problem because of bad ventilation systems within the schools. Their solution, because they do it in my kid's school, open the windows a crack to increase ventilation to reduce the risk of spread of COVID. This is trust the science coming from a bunch of idiots. I'm sorry. Carry on.
Absolutely. So, I confronted the principal about it, and she kicked me out of the school, gave me a trespass order.
Called the cops.
What province are you in?
Cops, Winnipeg, Manitoba. So the cops came and gave me a trespass order, and I begged them to investigate child abuse because the non-medical masks are child abuse. It actually causes more harm. I am a contractor, so I know all about respirators. And a proper respirator for a virus of that caliber, you have to be clean shaven. It's got to be a tight suction fit around your face. That's a proper mask. And with these
100% correct. This is why I had to be clean shaven when I worked for the sheriff's department, in case I ever had to wear a gas mask or a fire mask to get, in case of a fire, to get inmates out. Or when we were N95s, which we were fit tested for, which we often wore when we knew we were going to have to handle somebody and pepper spray them. Because I can deal with it, but, breathing in pepper spray makes you cough and sneeze. And when you're trying to handle somebody, it's not the best thing to be achoo, achoo, right? Eyes watering, not a big deal. But so, yes, there's a proper way to wear a mask. And the bottom line, though, is that we shouldn't be doing this to our children. And I just thought I would put this on here because think of the children, the greatest emotional appeal ever. But really not anymore because women aren't having children. They don't care. So now it's my body, my choice, my narcissism, my best life, living my best life. That's what we have now. In any case, guys, I'm let's see. I think I'm gonna bring these other things up that I have, and we're just gonna like try and fly through them. Well, you know what? I'll just talk about them. How about that? I don't need to bring everything up. So we know Facebook is restricting the trucker protest right now, right? Yet Facebook lost a ton of stock the other day. Like, what are you doing when people are organizing on your website? That's quite popular. I don't know. I don't barely use Facebook anymore. Used to use it quite a lot, but you people on your website trying to organize things and you say no. What do you think that those people, especially people who feel like their freedoms are being taken away, are going to continue to use your website? I mean, I used to upload my videos there. I knew I was going to get a lot of traction. It was on my own personal private page, but I thought maybe a few of my friends might watch, you know? You know how many times I tried to upload my stuff to Facebook and it wouldn't even upload? And I would actually say it. I would comment, I would make a post on Facebook, and then I would try to upload again. And this is like after I uploaded 4 or 5 times, tried, made a comment, all of a sudden they let my video through about certain materials. Pretty interesting. Of course, we had the BLM grift exposed. I talked about that a little bit, but I'm not really going to get into it. Joe Rogan and Spotify, though, I think I am going to talk about that. Let's see. And we're just going to go through this real quick because maybe you heard, maybe you hadn't heard, but Spotify has been removing a bunch of old Joe's episodes. And one of the first ones I noticed was from, Michael Malice. Michael Malice made a video about it. I do have here, but we're not going to look at it for the sake of time because my time is running short, guys. I got to make dinner. I was actually trying to get some short ribs together earlier. You know, slow cook them, all that. Thought they'd be done by the time I was ready for the stream. And that's what I was going to eat for lunch and dinner at work in the next couple weeks or next couple days. And lo and behold, all my meat I bought just the other day is spoiled already. So I had to run back out to the grocery store and get other stuff. That sucks, but you know, oh well. In any case, so we all know this, right? Unless you were on vacation, under a rock, in jail, in boot camp, in a coma, or whatever else other situation you might have been where you didn't see the most recent news. But Neil Young quit Spotify because of Joe Rogan. These artists have followed his lead. So a bunch of people that nobody cares about said they're going to leave Spotify. Like, we couldn't find your stuff elsewhere. Joe went from about 20,000 subs to 10 or 11,000 on Spotify. So apparently he lost like about half his audience. I really, until recently, have not watched any Joe Rogan or listened to, unless it's very specific episodes, because very specific people have been on that I've heard about and forever. And that's because he's not on YouTube. And I get it, because I know I rail against YouTube all the time. But I also use their platform, and I use it because it's a big platform. That's why I use it. It's the potential for more viewership. But you know, you have those people who won't follow. The thing is these things will keep going on, and people will abandon all these platforms. So Spotify kind of cocked. They put a warning up, but then all of a sudden, Spotify communications chief reportedly told employees that Joe Rogan episode did not meet the threshold for removal. So that was January 29th. Then they decided to put a little warning up, just saying this talks about COVID and whatever else. And then this comes out. About 19% of Spotify users say they've canceled or plan to cancel over Joe Rogan controversy, pull fines, but that will but what will that exodus but will that exodus really happen? Sorry, guys. So a lot of people said that they were going to give up on Spotify. It says, though it blew up on social media, the hashtag, although similar past customers' backlash have resulted in minimal damage. Among Spotify users, 19% said they have already canceled their service or plan to over the Joe Rogan uproar, according to a February 1st consumer poll conducted by Forrester's Research. The study has also found that 54% of those who use Spotify have no intention of canceling their subscription, while 18.5% said they would consider canceling only if more artists who they like pull their music from their platform. About 8.5% said they thought about canceling their subscription, but that Spotify features were too important to them. I don't even know. Because I can just get whatever music I want on YouTube for free, generally. And I do. So I don't even know. I don't know what special features there are. I don't have a paid account on Spotify. I think I follow one thing on Spotify, and that is because a girl, before I met my wife, who I never dated, on her dating profile, had her Spotify song list, and I was like, check it out. And it was pretty cool. It was a pretty chill mix. So I liked it. That's it. That's the only thing. And then, recently I've been listening to a little bit more Rogan. Because I wanted to listen to him talk to some of the doctors like Robert Malone, and the other gentleman, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but the cardiologist, as well as Ben Patrick, knees over toes guy, because I follow his stuff, been doing it, helped me out with my knees, although I've got a long way to go as far as doing like a full Nordic or anything like that. But yeah. So here we have MissingJRE.com. This was last updated on Friday. This says last check 7 minutes ago, February 6th. I guess that's for me. I don't know for this, but I see from the green, all these are from Friday. So this Crystalia episode was gone. Alex Jones Returns was gone. Gad Sad removed on February 4th. That's interesting. And I really like Gad Sad. I actually wish I would see his stuff more often on YouTube because I forget to pull his stuff up. Michael Malice, which I mentioned, but a lot of these are his friends. Theo Vaughn, Tom Segura. Owen Benjamin was on with Kurt Metzger. I didn't even know when that was. That must have been a long time ago. Why? Because Owen Benjamin's a canceled person? Like right here, these are just comedians. Ari Sharif, Bert Kreischer, and Tom Segura. Owen Benjamin, because again, Owen Benjamin's been canceled. Sargon, Michael Malice, Theo, Gavin McGinnis. Milo's gone. Marcus Arbery. Arbery Marcus. I always get that backwards. That's Joe Rogan's partner in his business with On It. It's his business partner. I don't know what the deal is with this, but if I were Joe Rogan, maybe he wants that sweet, $300 million supposedly that he was supposed to get. But if I were Joe Rogan, I would be like, you do this, when my contract's up, I will be with somebody else. You better get my episodes back on. But maybe Joe doesn't want to rock the boat. I don't know. Hey, yo, wife, I know. Nick told me. You're always late on the news. I'm not going to pay for a music stream. Yeah, me neither, man. I really don't like Gad Said. I don't like liars. Why is he a liar? I don't know what he's lied about. You'd have to explain that to me, Spook. Because, you have to tell me what he's lied about. Other than the only thing I know, that he addresses personally is his story, how he left Lebanon. If that's a lie, then you have to show me proof of that, which I'll entertain, mind you. But I don't know anything Gad's lied about personally. But again, I don't watch him very often anymore because I just don't happen to catch him. Oh, we got the Zuck. He Jeff Zucker and the whole CNN thing. CNN is looking at right now potentially getting a guy who wants to make CNN a moderate or even slightly conservative newscasting network. So sure, the crew at CNN is going to love that. Joe Biden talked about guns again like an idiot. Let's see. Oh, I had Hunter Biden's Bank of China records is demanded an leaked subpoena. That was Robert Guevara. I don't know. It was Greer before he changed his name to, I guess, his real name. I don't know. So Guevara, I think is what it is. He just did that at the beginning of the year. What else? This I should play.
Real quick on the Johns Hopkins study on the lockdowns. It was this meta-analysis that came out of several studies. Lockdown during the first wave of COVID in spring of 2020 found that it only reduced COVID mortality by 0.2% in the US and Europe, and suggested they had little to no public health benefit, but severe consequences for the economy. And it suggests that lockdowns shouldn't be a part of a future pandemic response.
So before we hear old Psaki's response, this is from Blaze TV. Obviously, you see the watermark there. This is just from Friday. And here's the thing. We knew this in the first month of the pandemic, or 2 months at least, something like that. This has been reviewed over and over again, much like the mask thing. They don't work. I mean, they work as far as you're not going to spit on somebody, but you're not keeping aerosolized anything away from anybody. And we know this from at least 2 studies now. One in the UK, which is where they compared schools who wore masks and who didn't. And one in Denmark, where they compared almost 5,000 people in the population. Now, only 3,000 some odd, 3,500-ish completed the study. And the statistical difference was insignificant. It was a matter of 0.18 who got the coof, who wore masks, and 0.2.1 or 2.2, a difference of 0.3 or 4. It was nothing. It was absolutely nothing. And you ought to know this by now. Everybody ought to know this by now. But everybody believes the lie. They keep telling the lie. They keep spreading the lie. Everyone loves the lie because nobody wants the truth, right? We want to be lied to. We want to feel safe. We want to feel secure. We want mommy, daddy, government to take care of us. And nobody wants to put in the hard work or pay the price.
Is that the shared view of the administration looking in the rearview mirror?
Well, I would first, of course, point you to our health and medical experts for specifics on this specific scientific study. I would note that the president has been clear. We're not pushing lockdowns. We've not been pro-lockdown. That has not been his agenda. Most of the lock.
Nonsense. Now, during his campaign, no. After his campaign, his first year, which we've been through now, right? He was pro-lockdown until basically he understood that the federal government couldn't do anything about it. Now, they were trying to get the mandates through OSHA and everything else. What did he do? They got defeated. He said, all federal options have been exhausted. This is a state issue. It always was a state issue. The federal government doesn't have the power to do these things in the first place. All it had the power to do was what Trump did. That was to stop travel and block people crossing the border. That's it. Everything else, some farce somebody made up, and later generations after the Constitution was written. And it's just what we accept because, again, we love to live that lie.
Lockdowns actually happened under the previous president. What our objective has been is to conveying that we have the tools we need to keep our country open, thanks to the president's leadership and focus on fighting the virus. And that's reflected in the fact that 98% of schools are open. Over 210 million Americans are fully vaccinated. We have the tools to avoid lockdowns, and we're not moving back. And that's our intention at this point.
You guys do believe.
What does vaccination have to do with it, though? Especially if the vaccine isn't foolproof. We never needed to lock down. We never needed to treat any of this like any of this. And I know someone out there, but Bill, this was the worst disease I've never been so sick in my life. Well, let me tell you about the first time I had strep throat, because I thought I was going to die. I'm not kidding. At 104-degree temperature for days. I came back from a trip with my wife. I went to work, came back to the wife and kids, my ex-wife. Came back a day later, sick, fever, felt horrible. Called into work. My wife comes to me, complains to me, or says she's going to take care of me, do all this stuff. And I was like, honey, I really appreciated that. I feel horrible. I just want to be left alone. I don't want to be bothered. I just want to try and sleep. I just want to feel miserable by myself, right? Well, she got mad. And in rejecting her love, decided as I progressively got worse, sick, and lost my voice and couldn't talk, that she wouldn't call the doctors or anything for me. And I'm not kidding. This is why I'm divorced. Not this incident alone. I'm just saying. And during this process, as I've lost my voice, can't talk on the phone, like I'm talking like that. It's one of those things you can't talk. Throat's almost completely swollen shut, and I end up not being able to sleep. I remember sleeping on the floor because it was cooler down there, and choking on my own spit every 2-3 minutes and waking up. And finally, my wife, after allowing me to go through all that, took pity on me and felt bad and took me to the hospital. So, but my point is, maybe I could have drove to the hospital. I don't know. Who knows? I don't even remember fully my mental state at the time. I know I was really sick. Never had strep throat before in my life. I was like 24 years old. And I think that was the same year I started working in the jail. My stepson went in the kindergarten. So immune system, right? Needed a little stressing. And I'm only conveying this and telling you this because, like, that's not the only time I've been really sick either. It's just that we tend to forget when we were really sick, and everyone's putting that on this thing. And it sucks to be really sick. I've had strep throat, I think, twice since then. Never again since the last time I had it. It's not fun, but it's never been that bad. Never, ever has it been as bad as it was that first time. And my point, again, to all this is that just because, you were deathly ill doesn't mean anything. I remember some years ago, I went and saw a girl, came back, and was perfectly fine. And then like later that night in the morning, woke up, started throwing up. And for 48 hours, that's all I did. That's pretty bad. I've been so sick. I remember once I was in the military, I was so sick, throwing up and diarrhea and all that. They gave me a suppository because I couldn't keep anything down. It sucks to be sick. Get yourself healthy and you don't have to worry about it. Anyways, I'm done with that rant. I'm going to play this video and then I'm going to get out of here.
Then lockdowns were more harmful than helpful.
Again, I would point you to our scientific experts on the specifics of a study, but the president's agenda, the president's approach has not been lockdowns. It has been using the tools we have to prevent that.
Good. On the Supreme Court nomination, Senator Ben Ray Lujan's office is saying today he's going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks. I know you've obviously wished him well. Hopefully it's shorter than that, but sometimes these recoveries don't always go as planned. So, is the White House thinking at all about timing, given the senator's potential absence?
All right, that was it. I was looking at the chat, guys, so I wasn't paying attention to the audio there. But that was it. That was it. Just what she had to say about lockdowns. I just find that completely absurd. Of course, we know what the record is, but they don't care. They don't care because they know most people just go along to get along. And this is why you can put people in a group. The studies are out there. You can set them in a room in a group, and you can lie to them to their face. Every single person in the room could be an actor, and they, being the one non-actor, will end up agreeing with everyone else about a falsehood because, well, the group did it. Maybe I must be the one who's wrong. Maybe I'm crazy. I must be a crazy person that I didn't experience the thing that they experienced. Or maybe you're the only sane one there. It's a question I'll leave you with. Are you the only sane one amongst your friends and family, amongst your coworkers? I don't know. I try and meet people where they're at and then try to slowly bring them to where I'm at. But the one thing I always do is when I'm with them is say, do you really think the powers that be have your best interest at heart? You really think that? While they're making hand over fist money, they got all the power, get to control everything, get to tell you what to do, get to do whatever they want. You really think they have your best interest at heart? How come you don't have the same living standards as they do? And I don't mean like wealth. I mean like coof. How come they don't have to wear masks, but you do? How come they get to go to galas, but you can't go to a super spreader event for Christmas or New Year's? All things to consider. But my audience knows this. You guys are pretty smart. Yeah, you probably wouldn't listen to me otherwise. I don't know. I accept dumb people too. So come in, dummies. I don't know. I love everybody. I think there's a problem with you if someone's of lesser intelligence than you and you can't converse with them, or if you're in lesser intelligence than somebody else and they're more intelligent and you can't converse with them. We should all be able to have a conversation, get along, and maybe we won't want to spend a lot of time together, but there's no reason why we can't let bygones be bygones, right? So I don't know. Let me look at this chat real quick. Get some sunlight to Hari. Clove of garlic. You guys are talking about drink a flu bomb. Clove of garlic, whole lemon juice, ginger, honey, cayenne pepper. Maybe. That will certainly give you a gut bomb, I'm sure. Maybe. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate y'all being patient with me today and everything. I kind of got this together, kind of knew throughout the week what I wanted to talk about, but kind of got it together last minute today. Woke up pretty early, but didn't get a lot of sleep yesterday, so I'm a little tired. But it's me. What's new? But I appreciate y'all being here as always. Thank you so much. I will be back next Sunday. I'll probably, after a couple months or weeks, it'll depend, but probably when the spring starts, we'll try and stream during the week again, because there are always other things that I want to do and get done. And there's always things that come up, right? It's what happens. You have a house, a family, all that stuff, a life. And of course, my daughter's growing. So there are always things that will be in the way, but I am going to keep doing this as much as I can. And if you guys help me grow, maybe one day I can just do this and do nothing but this. Before it was fine that I was doing this and whatever, but given the opportunity, you know, and given that I have certain goals, financial and life goals, you know, I'm gonna work. I'm gonna make that big money right now, and I'm making pretty good money. So, um, we're gonna do that, but we're still gonna do this. So I'll be back next Sunday at 3 p.m. It should be, and hopefully you all will be here for that. If you want to catch me before then, you can go over to the Justify the Memes. You all know that. Yeah, Shelly, it has been a while. It's just, well, last week especially, I changed my work schedule to make it work out better, and then my manager screwed it up. I actually think it because we put it into an app and a system and stuff, and it didn't work. And then I said something to him, and he said, "Yeah," he goes, "I know you told me about blah blah blah. We got it fixed," but I ended up working just a bunch of hours last week. But yeah, guys, I will be back over on the Justify the Memes Wednesday, and I'll be back here next Sunday. And I have said before, I think I said it over there, I might release some videos that are pre-recorded on occasion, like I started off doing, because that seems a little bit more manageable. When a stream, it's like you guys don't know if I'm streaming or not. It's like I can stream anytime, like Sargon does, like randomly. Except for that dude he's got a following. You know, he's got a huge following. My videos get a couple hundred views sometimes, but it's only a core few of you that watch me live. So I can pre-record something and upload it pretty easily almost any time. So I might do that. We'll figure it out. Either way, guys, appreciate y'all being here. This has been AllMinusOne. My name is Bill, and hey guys, I wish you all well.